Have you ever had a dream that you had you could you'll do you wants you could do so you'll do you want them to do you so much you could do anything?
Spit it out, Mr. Anderson.
That's that's a quote from Morpheus from the movie The Matrix. And this is There Will Be Duds. And I am your co-host, J Spot Jack Cheese, aka TJ. And with me, as always,
As always, hi, I'm Nick, aka Dr. Funk, aka the only one who dressed up for this thing.
Uh,
And with
I'm
me, as
AKA.
always.
Oh yeah, sorry. With me as always, is Travis, aka the Super General, aka John Wick, because I got the movie wrong. I watched
aka
the John Wick
George
trilogy.
Harrison.
You watched the John Wick trilogy on accident.
Yeah, and we took a little break. Not for you podcast listeners, but for people our live viewers, so us. We took a little break.
But I'm thinking
And-
we're back.
Yeah, there you go. I was trying to like set you up for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, but now I'm also thinking we're back. And in the interim, since we had a little extra time, we decided to do a little special for our return episode, and we are doing the Matrix trilogy today. That's 3 movies instead of 1, which is what we normally do.
That is true.
Yeah, so I think because of that, we're gonna kind of skip over our normal warm up conversation, and I think we're just gonna jump right into the first movie.
We're going to jack in to the first movie.
Yeah, we're gonna jack in, and the first movie is titled The Matrix. Should I just do kind of like an encapsulating like plot thing for the whole series, or should I do it for like each movie as we go? Like, this is the first one, this is what happens in the first one. I know I don't get too specific anyways, but like
I don't know.
I guess I would go movie by movie.
Okay. I think I like that more too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise,
All
it's
right.
gonna be 10 minutes of you reading plot synopsis.
Yeah, true. Okay, so the first movie we're going to be talking about is the first movie in the Matrix saga now, I guess, titled The Matrix, and it follows Thomas Anderson, aka Neo, as he is pulled out of what he believes this is reality into the real reality, and finds out that he was living in a simulated world called the Matrix this entire time. And it's a pretty crazy sci-fi action adventure. He joins like a team of freedom fighters, in a sense, trying to free humanity from
The
their
machines.
slavery. Yeah, the slavery to their machine overlords. And learns that he may be the prophesied
The one.
the one. Yeah.
Is
That's
that
it.
my dumb brain was like, is Neo just like an anagram for one? Like, was that?
I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
was intentional. Yeah.
Okay.
What are you
okay.
looking at, Travis?
I don't know. Something the way that you just like read that or said that made me like I'm gonna downgrade the movie. I think it just like I don't know the wording. Like freedom fighters really just kind of like
That's what HBO said, so that's where I got
really?
that. Yeah.
Man, that just gives me like a sour taste. That just seems like so
Oh.
corny, I guess, when it's put that way. Freedom fighters.
Neo, we're freedom fighters.
Well, I think I mentioned this both to you guys already, but wasn't until watching this time that I didn't realize how many fucking times I've seen this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same.
It's been a long. I probably haven't seen it in over 10 years, but before then, I wouldn't be surprised if I've seen this movie like 20, 30 times. I've seen this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it still really holds up. it's kind of like a perfect action movie. I think the pacing is amazing. I sound like I'm doing like my wrap up already.
We're wrapping up
Yeah.
already, and that's because I feel like the real meat and potatoes of the conversation is the other two, which I feel like
Yeah.
Sure.
kind of are
Sure.
Yeah,
closer
let's just
to
do our
maybe like
wrap-ups.
dud spectrum for
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
I feel like this
Sorta.
one's gonna be easy, so let's just get this one out of the way, and then we'll have room for the other two.
But also I want to settle on like the good one, right? I want to
yeah.
praise it before we get into the more
Yeah.
the murkier stuff.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, this is I had seen bits and pieces of it like on TV
Mhm.
or whatever, and this is the first time that I've sat down and actually watched really all three of them. I had seen the first one not, a while ago. Again,
Mhm.
bits and pieces. This is the first
Mhm.
time actually sitting down and watching it, and I was very very surprised at I expected it to hold up pretty well, but as like its own when this movie came out, I can only imagine it must have been just like people freaked out because this is like 1999.
Oh yeah.
This is like right at the very beginning of the internet becoming a thing. And
Mhm.
then I'm sure it just like blew people's minds. They're like, what if we are living in a simulation, man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
the special effects alone, like the bullet
Yeah.
time thing was like
Bullet time, yeah.
massive. I
They
remember
literally
that
had
being,
like
Just from a
huge.
technical
40 DSLRs. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like there was a video because I think I was like scrolling the Wikipedia page and there was like a little video of like how they did it. And it's like, yeah, they just had a
Yeah.
thing with like a bunch of cameras and they literally like moved it around him.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
No,
Yeah.
no, it was a ring of like 50
Yeah.
different cameras or whatever, and it's basically they each took like a few frames, and so
Yeah.
they just it's all then they like splice together the like 50 cameras. So it's
Yeah.
almost like stop motion if you think about it.
Yeah,
It's just
kind
like
of.
it's like a little less because each one took a couple frames instead of just one. Um Yeah, I was thinking of that watching it. I was like, man, like even Nick who'd never seen it before. Obviously at this point, it's just such a like part of the cultural zeitgeist that like
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna you're not it'd be hard to find somebody who could really go into these movies cold, like completely cold. But I was
Yeah.
thinking like, man, people who went to this premiere like no had no idea what was going on, like this fucking insane what they do in this movie. Like they like one it just thrusts you right into it, right? There's like no preamble really.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. And you're like and then you're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Like it seems like mostly like okay, it's just the world, right? Before you get pulled out with Neo. It's like you're always in the Matrix. So not knowing the concept, you just think it's the world. And they're like, what are wake up? What are these guys talking about? You're interested by the intrigue or whatever. And then when he gets pulled out and he's in the fucking pod and he has you're like, I imagine like you'd be freaking out because
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
like ramps up the like craziness and
Yeah, it's pretty high concept.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
sci-fi,
exactly.
like,
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It's probably
just-
like I've never watched a trailer for it, I don't think.
I don't know if I
but
have either.
Like I don't think like a trailer would necessarily like I don't know if it would prepare you for like how high concept you probably just saw
Yeah.
like the fighting and shit and you're like, "Oh, cool, fighting movie."
Right.
And then
Mhm.
like and then you're like, "Wait, what?" You're not like
Yeah.
not ready for it.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they lure you in with the kung fu and then like hit you with the high concept like, fake reality shit,
Yeah.
after they've already got you.
Yeah, like a full on like religious metaphor, like
Well, yeah,
biblical
'cause
metaphor of the whole thing.
there's a scene where Neo's in his house, office, whatever his gamer setup. and
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's
That's
like
like his apartment. Yeah.
his apartment, yeah, and there's like philosophy books that I think like the Wachowskis
Yeah.
basically kind of borrowed heavily from about like reality and like
Oh yeah. There's a
all that
lot
kind
of.
I mean,
Mhm.
he literally has to die to save everybody. I mean, it's directly.
I mean, yeah, the Jesus
Jesus.
metaphor is
Yeah.
Hey,
directly.
at least in this movie, the Jesus metaphor is somewhat subtle.
Somewhat subtle, yeah.
So maybe the Wachowskis picked up on something that nobody else has ever with the Bible, and that we actually are in the Matrix, and Jesus was Neo, and we just completely missed it.
Oh, and then when
Just
he died, it got rebooted. That's why it's like,
Yeah,
so Jesus actually was living in like a modern world, but then they had to reboot it after he died.
that reminds me. This was something I picked up on this time. So you know how like you die in the Matrix, you die in real life, right? So if you die in the Matrix, like, and you never get pulled out, and you're in one of those pods, like, they have this when Neo gets like ejected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like a built-in mechanism. It's not like they hacked in and created this whole like chute system for him. So like I just realized watching it this time that like when somebody dies in the Matrix, they die in real life, and then they just like
They flush him down the toilet.
they just flush him down the toilet. So
Yeah.
like when Neo gets ejected into that like sewer system, that's just like decomposing body soup that he just
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and I would imagine like he's in like a sealed pod for his entire life. Like realistically, he probably would have gotten so many like fucking diseases from that water that he would have
Yeah.
died.
They,
He
they
has, like,
pick him
no
up in the
immunity
ship,
to
and he's just
anything.
like,
Yeah.
Just gets sepsis and dies in like a half an
Yeah,
hour.
Yeah, he's got all these open ports and shit. Like
Yeah.
his skin has
Oh.
never touched air, and he's just like, yeah,
Dude,
Yeah,
I
'cause,
wrote
like-
that down.
because like they kind of address that when they're like, when he's laying there, and they tell him, oh, your muscles have atrophied because you've never used them before.
yeah,
Like they kind of touch on that idea, but yeah, he's
Yeah.
basically like never experienced. Like I feel like the world is so polluted that like as soon as he like popped out
Oh,
of the
yeah.
pod, he would have gotten like
Yeah.
20
Yeah.
different diseases and like died
Yeah.
instantly.
he would have got stage 4 lung cancer like first inhale.
I
Like
mean,
that's it, immediate.
You
I
think
mean,
that's
I
air
totally
you're
think
breathing?
you're. I totally
Yeah.
think like their little pods are
Machine
supposed to be
exhaust.
like their little pods are supposed to be like it's like their fetuses in the womb.
Yeah,
Those are like the umbilical cords.
right.
They're in like a placenta type liquid. So I think that is supposed to be like
Yeah, like
obviously
they've never.
like that. So
Yeah, that's a super hard line when he's like, "Why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never used them before." That's like you're just like
there's yeah.
That's
That
such a
movie is
good-
really
it's so good, yeah.
those like sort of like vague sounding like
Yeah.
one-liners, but yeah, the movie's
It
really
kind
good
of
at
it
that.
does kind of like if you've never seen it before, it kind of I could see how it could maybe get annoying because Morpheus is like almost intentionally like too vague sometimes, and it's kind of like, all right, just tell me, just give it to me, just like lay it all out, just give me the whole like
Yeah.
bullet point at least instead of these vague little like limericks basically. Just
Speaking
give
in
me the
riddles.
fucking truth. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like but he does kind of like they do kind of like piece feed it to you like really well with like the why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never used them before. And you're like,
Yeah.
Wait. Oh shit. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
I mean,
again, not to
good.
like jump the gun too much, but I feel like in the other two movies, they lay on really thick, this sort of like vague sounding, like it fake deep speak almost like this.
Mhm.
Oh
This-
yeah.
Because like this movie is like a perfect balance, I think, of like we were talking about earlier, like the science fiction, the action, like the kung fu, the philosophicalness, everything. I think everything about it is just like perfectly imbalanced with each other. Like the fight scenes are like the perfect length, and then they move on, and the way that like
And
you
they're
said, the
great,
pacing.
too.
Oh, they're so good.
Yes. They're really
Yeah.
good. The one of my favorite parts is when it's when they fight in the subway, Agent Smith and Neo, and Agent Smith catches his hand like this, and then he just goes.
And he's
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It's always been one of my favorite things.
Hell
He
yeah.
just like does this little finger punch thing to his throat.
Yeah.
It's so good. There's just
Sounds
so
like
many.
a Three Stooges thing.
Yeah.
Like
Kinda.
Yeah.
doink,
Yeah. Man, Hugo Weaving,
shoot.
I feel like Hugo Weaving does some heavy lifting,
He,
especially in the other
he
movies. He
Yeah.
does some heavy
Yeah.
Oh, and
lifting.
the other
he
movies
is the
for sure.
fucking
Yeah.
MVP of the series, I think.
Oh, yeah,
He is
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
so good.
The
total
most
series,
interesting
yeah, I would
character
say,
to me,
yeah.
just like everything
Yeah.
about him is
Yeah.
so great.
It really is like watching the first one and then watching how hard he carries the second and third ones. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Just
like
like
a
giving his
top
all.
15, top 10 like villain of all time.
Oh yeah,
He
I
does
think
like
so for
such a
sure,
good job with it.
dude.
He's so good.
I know Travis knows this, but like his fucking monologue to Morpheus is like one of my favorite like
I can
villain
taste
speech.
your
It's so
stink.
goddamn
Yeah.
good.
So good.
Yeah.
It's the smell,
It's
like everything about it.
Yeah.
And like,
I feel like
oh,
as though I've been
he put so much
infected
in it.
by it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He has
he
like these
takes the
kind of
earpiece
weird
out
little
too.
like
It-
Yeah.
he really like he takes the earpiece out and then he does this like monologue and it's like it's because it's kind of him like for the first time like disconnecting for the system and like thinking for himself.
Mhm.
It's interesting because he's almost like it almost seems like sometimes he's at a loss for words, like he doesn't know how to speak because he like kind of
Mm,
like pauses at certain points, like he's trying to think of the words like he hasn't thought independently before. And
mm.
I don't know. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but if yeah, it's a nice touch if it is. I was gonna say I got the Police Story, the Jackie Chan Criterion collection,
Oh, nice.
Police Story
Mhm.
1 and 2 collection. And I was watching this documentary on it about how they do all their stunts and their fighting and stuff, and just like how it's shot. Like Jackie Chan movies typically have like they don't cut. Um, I'll bring this back around to the Matrix. Don't worry, but
Okay.
they don't really cut. They'll do like a wide shot, and they'll do like I don't know. They actually fight. They know how to fight.
Mhm.
And they typically will wear like padded shoes or like if they can wear pads underneath their shirts so they can actually like hit each other.
Right.
And even the thing where Neo's like he gets like his ass kicked in the subway by Agent Smith and then he stands up and the like he like does the little shoulder thing and the dust comes off. Like
Yeah.
that's like a Jackie Chan special.
Mhm.
They put
Yeah.
baby powder all over you and they just, um and and what I noticed in the first one is it looked like, I mean, it really does seem like the Matrix was supposed to be just the Matrix, and then they were like, oh, it's so popular, let's do two more. Um, and that's why the story just gets like so convoluted and shit too. But in the first one, it was like, okay, here's this movie, we're gonna train really hard and learn all this choreography, and they like actually fight and shit. Like it looks like more like a Jackie Chan style, like
Mhm.
Yeah, and
legitimate
like Hugo
fighting.
Weaving is probably like what in his almost late 30s, 40s here.
Yeah, I would say
And
so.
he's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know if he did
Yeah.
all of his stunts, but like the fights with him and Neo, he's like
Yeah.
pretty cut, you know.
What he talked about in that documentary, Jackie Chan, was that like in more modern, like especially like Marvel stuff, you see where like you don't see the punch. It's like right as it's gonna hit, they cut to another
Mhm.
angle, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't actually get to feel the punch. And that's kind of the stuff that they did in the second and third one. Is they hide all of the, besides maybe the last fight of the entire series.
Mhm.
There's like that was kind of a big thing I think, but like especially in the second one where it's just this it's just all that shitty CGI with like the 100 Agent Smiths. Like it looks
Yeah.
so bad. But in the first one, I guess the fighting looked like they gave a shit. They like
Oh yeah.
planned it all out.
Right. Yeah.
It looks good.
It's
Yeah.
like it really it I can't I'm trying to really just focus on this one, but it's almost like a TV series that like Prison Break I think of that was intended to be one season and like written as one season, and that first season is really really good. Um and that but then it got super popular because it was a really good season, and then they were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
make more." And they were like, yeah, but we only want to do one.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, too bad. You got to make more now. And then the rest of the series is just
Yeah.
middling and
Yeah,
disappointing.
Yeah, well,
the
because
first
like
one is so tight.
I
You
always
don't need
come back
anymore.
to I guess this predates it. So I guess the Stranger Thingsification, just like I feel like I've said this a million times on the podcast, but like the first season of Stranger Things, perfectly tight. It gives you just enough like lore and backstory and like that kind of shit to chew on. The characters come. Everything about it is like very. It tells a very well contained story, and then they're like seasons 2 and 3 are like it's like the same characters, and it's like it's okay, but it's like did we need it? I don't think we really needed it, and it doesn't really like add all that much, and if anything like
Yeah,
is detrimental because it just tries to over explain and expand like the scope when the first
Yeah.
movie is like so good at just giving you bits and pieces, because I feel like after a while it collapses under its own weight of
Oh, yeah.
trying to like explain everything. And like in the first movie Morpheus like references, yes, there's a place called Zion where like the last remaining humans are, and like that's our stronghold against the machines. Great, that's all I need to know. Like I don't need to see it, I don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, how the whole movie ends too. It's like he does the little monologue where he's, on the phone. He's like, the whatever. He's like, the rest I leave up to you, and then it plays that,
They hit you with the Rage
bass.
Against the Machine.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
fuck yeah.
and then he flies off, and you're like, oh, okay, he fucking kicks ass now. Like, I don't need to see him like beat them.
Yeah.
Like, I know
I can
he
fill
beats
in the
them.
details.
That's
I can fill in the details.
yeah, I thought Neo was such a more interesting character, seeing him become the one. The other ones, he already is the one, and it's just like, okay, like, I guess it's like cool to see if you're like there for that, but like I think as a character journey, as a character arc, it's a lot more interesting uh
Oh yeah.
to see him struggling and to see him turn into that. And like that, yeah, the you mentioned the last shot, and I wrote that down, that like kind of going off of what I was saying before about how the movie's just constantly introducing these new concepts and new ideas up until the very final shot. The final shot, it's introducing a new thing. Like, he can fucking fly now. Like,
Oh
he
yeah.
can fly now.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Because in the second and third ones, there really is no character development for him. Like, he doesn't change from beginning to end of them. Besides, like,
kinda.
I mean, I guess he learns new information, and he like that's it. He
Becomes
doesn't
Jesus,
change.
maintains being Jesus the rest of the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, everybody starts to worship him, and he's like all humble and like, oh, you don't need to do, he doesn't know how to act. He doesn't want to be famous for saving people.
Neo,
he
you
just
mean?
wants to save people. Yeah, Neo. Yeah.
How do we feel about Keanu Reeves as an actor?
He's hit or miss, I think.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think he's
I
pretty
can- I can
decent.
see
Really
that.
good as Neo in the
I-
first one. The
yeah,
other two,
I
it's
do.
just nothing.
Yeah, there's like a part or two like in the later ones where it's like, but I think I understand that he's not like a great actor. I'm not saying that. Have you guys seen Bram Stoker's Dracula though?
We
'Cause
watched it
should
like a
watch
week
it.
ago.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, yeah.
I really want to rewatch it because Red Letter
It's
Media did a
entertaining.
like review on
Yeah.
it, and they were like really did like a really glowing review of it. And I was like, oh, I guess like all the things they were pointing out, I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess they're right. So I want to see it again, but oh my god, Keanu Reeves is a fucking star in that movie. But I think for the most part, Keanu picks the right movies for himself.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I think Keanu is aware of his own
Limitations.
acting skill set. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am also okay with like him not being a perfect, actor, because you know what? This is a fucking action movie. It's a kung fu movie, and he commits to that shit.
Well, that's why
For
John
this-
Wick works so well too.
John
is
Wick.
like-
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, even up to John Wick, he's learning his own stunts, as much as he can or whatever.
I mean, yeah, he does Bill and Ted, and then he does like
and he's perfect in Bill
Point
and Ted.
Break.
Like
It's
that's
like
what I mean. Like you
just the
can't.
surfer bro.
Yeah. And I couldn't imagine anyone except him being Ted for
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like he picks the right movies. He is perfect for Ted. He's perfect for something like Point Break. I think at least in this one, I think he's a really good pick for Neo. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
No,
you see the
he's really
video
good,
from
'cause-
like when they were doing John Wick stuff? There's like a video of him on a gun
Yeah.
range, and he's just like
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
double,
like,
and he's just like running
yeah.
and just like unloading and putting. And I was like, oh, he actually is like
Yeah.
Mhm.
learning to shoot and like do all of these things. Is like he fully committed to it.
That's what I was
Also-
getting at with my like the fighting stuff is like they're really doing it in the 1st one.
Mhm.
They're really fighting, and then the second one they just let's put it in a computer and make it actually look like shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's hard to see even like what like to appreciate any of the choreography because I'm just so distracted by how shitty it looks.
Yeah, let's okay. We'll get to that when we get
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Keep bringing that up.
It's bubbling up. I'm just saying.
I guess for more plot stuff. So Neo gets Morpheus. We haven't even talked about like Morpheus and Trinity and like
Who is
the
my
other-
other favorite? I was gonna say in this one, it's like a tie for Hugo and Larry are like top performances.
Yeah,
like
Larry.
Larry is giving it his fucking all as Morpheus
yeah.
in this one.
Lawrence though.
I
He's
am
Lawrence at the-
so
Yeah, I know.
sorry. One more side thing. I'm bummed that he's not going to be in the fourth one.
Yeah.
And like, did you
Me too.
did you see like what he said or like his statement?
Mm-mm.
He was just like, it was basically, I think he's like, I wish them the best of luck. I hope it's great. But he was like, they asked him why aren't you going to be in Matrix Resurrections? And he said, you'd have to ask Lana Wachowski why I'm not in it. So he did
Ooh.
not get invited back. So I
Oh.
don't know.
Were they
you
just
know-
like he's old?
Yeah, because the guy that they have now is like a much younger guy that like
Yeah.
he looks enough like but it's like
But
why would you want the same age? But like Neo is
Well-
obviously 20 years older, than from
That's-
the other movies.
yeah. That's what I'm wondering, yeah. Which
Yeah,
I
interesting
wonder if
decision.
what they're gonna do.
Is the
It's
Matrix
like-
reset?
Well, but is Morpheus a program now or something like that?
Well, yeah, he
And
has.
And that's why he's different.
I bet you Neo has to pull him out. Like
Oh, maybe.
that's
Yeah, I
what I'm
don't know.
guessing.
But also
Yeah.
Trinity's. I mean, we can get to this later, but Trinity's there too, and she's older, so I don't
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
she's definitely not alive.
Lawrence, Lawrence is also the only one who's got like insane drip in this movie. The other two,
Oh,
like
yeah.
everybody else, they look alright.
Yeah.
But his fucking shit is
His tiny
it's
little
so good.
spectacles that hold up on his face somehow perfectly.
Yeah.
It's
and
funny.
like, the purple vest
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit. Man, that shit is
Yeah.
so fly.
Dude,
I love
it-
that shit.
Between this and Dream Warriors, like I never realized how much drip Lawrence Fishburne has, just in
Yeah.
general. Like
Yeah, he's
just
swaggy
makes
for
it-
sure.
He makes it look so easy.
We sound like total fucking try hard old dudes. Swaggy and drip.
He's got swag.
Uh,
Well, this
He
yeah.
does though.
So this movie also like influenced culture in a huge way too. Maybe not for the best in some aspects. Vis-a-vis, ergo the red pill idea.
Yeah.
Oh.
Idea.
And
'Cause, like-
conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, it's like, cause like okay, small like politics corner, cause it's like this is the '90s. This is like the late '90s, and there's this book called like The End of History and the Last Man, and it's like this sort of it basically is a book that supposes that like late era like Bill Clinton era like liberal democracy, like history basically has come to an end. Like, which is obviously not true because we're living through history every day now, it seems. but this really seems like the perfect '90s movie for like that sort of like end of history. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's other movies that came out around the same time. Like I guess like I'm thinking American Beauty and like Fight Club and like those types of movies of like the American dream has been like attained basically.
Mm.
And I got like vibes of that. Like that is like the type of world that like the Matrix created, was that just barely just at the end of history type shit. And I guess they didn't go too far into like political aspects of it. But yeah.
Which
No.
honestly,
it feels
I think
more
it's to a
religious than anything else. But
Yeah.
yeah, it leans more in like religious and philosophical
Oh, yeah.
over political, and which is good. I think if it
Yeah.
leaned that way, that would
Yeah.
be to its detriment.
Absolutely.
Being just going
Yeah.
full on sci-fi, full on
Mhm.
like more esoteric
Yeah.
concepts than like literal social stuff helps it be a more timeless movie too.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
think. Like ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it was during a time where, like, I think Nick said this earlier, where the internet was like just taking off, and like it was also Y2K was like a thing that was gonna happen.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
around the
yeah.
Like
corner.
all
Yep.
it's like the perfect like genre fit for the time. Like
It's like, what
it
could
was
the
like,
internet be? Like the possibility. It was when like the internet. Yeah, it was at a very quaint time when the internet seemed
Dial-up.
like it could be just about anything and not just 4 corporations that own every website.
Yeah.
And we all hate it and
Yeah.
it sucks.
I did think it was really funny and quaint that, like, you know, there's the dial-up sound when like they put the phone up to their ear and shit, and they like go out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then I was thinking about it, and it's like today, I almost think you would still have to do that, because like it makes sense that they go like they have to like kind of physically go through the phone line into their head. Like it would be really weird and lame if they did it like Wi-Fi. Like you also have to have that whole like element of like we have to get to a phone or else
They're like,
we're like that's how we can escape. If it was just like Wi-Fi and they could just pull you out, it'd be like, oh, there's an agent, pull me out. Okay,
they're like,
we're
yeah.
safe.
they're like,
Yeah.
operator, I can't get through. And the operator's like,
Yeah.
did you turn it off and turn it on again?
Reset your router
Reset
real
your
quick.
router.
Yeah.
Unplug it, wait 5 seconds, and plug it back in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there has to be some sort of like restriction, some like limit to like, because yeah, then there'd be like
Yeah.
no tension pretty much, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that as a good like you can poke holes in it too. And it's like, well, it's still like a simulation, so it's not really a phone line, blah blah blah. But I don't know, like it kind of tracks well enough to where like, yeah, okay,
No,
I
I
can
think
believe it.
Yeah.
I can buy into it.
It kind of at like in the moment felt a little dated, just because I don't know.
Payphones, or
No, well, payphones, but also like dial up and stuff. But like,
Oh, sure.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like
yeah,
in the-
also like as far as like in the real world, because like you know, sure, it's been like hundreds of years or whatever. He says it's closer to the year 2199.
yeah,
And sure they have like the flying ships and stuff, and you know they've advanced in some ways, but like it kind of makes sense if they're still limited in like
yeah,
the internet, the computery stuff, because the machines control that. They're basically having to like backdoor their way into
Yeah.
everything, so it's not like they can advance
Yeah.
past where humanity was.
yeah. Because if they had
Around
like
that
a
time or
Wi-Fi,
whatever.
or if it was like if they had like a server or whatever, that like then the machines could just like hack into that. And
Well, fucking also, then you'd have to rely on satellites, and I don't think you're
Yeah.
gonna get good signal on that planet, on that version of Earth.
So
Well, there is
okay,
there is
here's
a brief moment where like they go above the clouds though, and they see
Well,
like,
that's
the
the
big.
last one. That's the last one.
Okay,
I want
okay,
to bring
okay,
that up.
okay.
Yeah, I want to bring that up later.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, so here's a question that I never really like thought about it too hard before, but like I don't think I really ever understood the mirror part where he's like they're pulling Neo out of the Matrix,
Mhm.
and he touches the mirror and it turns into liquid, and it like, you know, whatever goes in his mouth and shit, and then he's out of the Matrix. And they kind of do that. They show the same kind of like visual when Smith is like taking over people's bodies later in the
Mhm.
series.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just like I never understood like nobody tells him to touch the mirror, right? Nobody like is this just something that happens in his head or like
I,
cuz he touches the mirror and then it like takes him over and it's like nobody says touch the mirror or, you know.
that's kind of what I think. I think it's more just like a visual metaphor for
Right.
for him waking up, and I do purely think that it's like it's almost like that whole scene, that whole like room or whatever that they're in is his own construct in a way.
Right.
And that's the thing, like that's there and he touches it because he's drawn to it because he sort of conceptualized it.
Right.
So I think like maybe when they pull out somebody else, it's maybe a little different thing. And instead of a mirror, it's like a bowl of Skittles, and he eats the Skittles and he turns into Skittle. I don't know, like you know,
Yeah.
I've got a
Yeah, he
red
turns
Skittle
into
and a
a
blue
Skittles
Skittle.
commercial.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I guess that kind of goes to the thing they were talking about earlier about how like this movie it doesn't spell everything out and it doesn't have to. Whereas the other two, it feels like they present something and then they're like, oh, and also here's a fucking 5-minute monologue with every word out of the thesaurus to like sound all smart to like explain this one little detail. And it's like, you know, like I only thought of the mirror thing just because I was watching it more in like a critical from a critical viewpoint. Whereas before I was just like, okay, yeah, he touched the mirror and yeah, that's just what happens. It's the
That's
Matrix.
just part of
I
it.
don't, yeah.
I've done that with a lot. I really like watching like movies I have watched before for the show, because that happens a lot. Like it forces me to kind of look at them in a different light, and I really like it. Like I wish I could, not that I would want to, like, well, I don't know. I wish like I could watch every movie in this light, but a lot of times I just watch movies, you know, to like kill time or whatever. But like I do really like watching them from a more analytical perspective, because I think personally I draw more out of them. Because like there's a lot of stuff like that, yeah, like the mirror, exactly. Like I wouldn't have thought about that, but I'm like thinking of it in the context of doing the podcast. I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah.
why? And then I like came up with an answer for it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that kind of like enhances the sort of like
Yeah.
experience in a way.
I feel
And
like sometimes a little bit more empathetic with the characters, or I'm like trying to put myself in their shoes
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
Like the whole red pill, pill thing. Like imagine a guy hands you like gives you a red pill or a blue pill, and you take the pill and you wake up, and then everybody's like looking at a screen with green lines going down it, and it's like, oh, that's your life. That was your life this entire time was just
Yeah.
these little green lines. Like it'd just be
It
crazy.
I mean, not the whole like killing his crew part, but like you
Yeah.
understand Cypher. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I
I
was gonna say. We were
don't
watching
blame
it, and
him.
Chloe was like, "Which one did you take?" And I'm like, "Ha ha ha." I was like,
It's
taking the red pill seems like it would suck." Like,
well, this
yeah, theoretically, I guess from a theoretical standpoint, I would much rather be like awake than being like sucked off in some pod. But at the
yeah.
same time, it seems like everyone's life on the ship sucks. So it's
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it kind of seems like a lamprey in a shark type situation where like okay, the machines are harvesting my body for energy, but also like I'm still like they're still in the matrix like they still are making choices. Like they still have like it seems like they still have free will, the people who are in the matrix like so really what's the difference, I guess?
Yeah. I guess you're limited, like it's just it's more the idea that like one, in a smaller case, I'm sure, but like any human is pretty much prey to being turned into an agent at will,
yeah, that's
and
true.
Yeah.
then
So does
essentially being like killed off for just like
so
seemingly random when like, you know, you're, I don't
Yeah,
know,
but
something could go wrong. I don't know.
so that
I mean,
yeah,
you could be walking
that
down the
was
street and a piano land on your head too. I mean, it's just another
No,
thing that could kill you, I
I
guess.
understand. Yeah,
that
yeah.
was my I was wondering that whenever someone gets turned into a smith, I just wanted it to cut back to like present Earth, and you just see like someone just get flushed down a tube. Because it's like, I mean, yeah, their life is like essentially over. Like they just got hacked.
and,
So it's
and,
just
and
I just
pretty
wanted-
soon, when like near the end when there's like a bunch of people getting turned in, it's just like a quick cut to like the floor where they get dropped, and you just see like
Yeah.
it's just
and
yeah.
then, like cats run away.
I just wanted to see ones where they like just like, you know, it seems like every hit is like a kill shot on the agents or whatever. I just wanted to see like somewhere like they shot them in the knees or something that like couldn't walk anymore, and then they like zip out, the agents zip out of the bodies, and then it's just a guy who's like, ah, ah,
He's just yeah.
I can't move, I can't feel my legs. Where am I?
Yeah, or just or like a police officer that just gets kicked into a brick wall, or like you know the Smith leaves, and then there's just like a guy who's just like smushed in a brick wall, like
Or like
oh.
mid falling off of a building, like he's zip out and he's just like, he just, like comes to.
Smith's like gotta go, just boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they've crafted this perfect world. Well, perfect air quotes, but yeah, it's like they can. It seems like sometimes they don't really care about like maintaining the facade sometimes, because it's like if you're like in this matrix, and then every once in a while you see just like huge amounts of like devastation, and like you know the scene when they go into the bank and they just light it up. Like those people have
Yeah.
no idea what's going on.
Yeah, then they're dead. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you think they can like maybe the machines, the system can like undo things probably, and like
Oh,
maybe
probably.
erase people's memories or something? I don't know. I don't know if they
Yeah.
have that ability. They can definitely fix things up. I think like
Like
just
the
go
environment.
yeah.
Control Z.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, kind of going off what you said. It's in the it's in the Agent Smith monologue. Yeah. Where I was saying it touches on like the sort of like philosophical like human nature type stuff that I really like in the series, where he says that the original Matrix was a perfect world, was like designed to be a perfect human world, but
Everybody
humans like
was happy.
no, he says it was a disaster.
weren't.
He said human nature is like you crave like misery and
Yeah.
suffering. So because it was perfect, everybody like all the humans realized that it was fake because it was
Yeah.
perfect, and like this can't
Too
be
perfect.
real.
Yeah.
It's too and like it caused like a system failure. So then the machines created like a more realistic like, here you go, here's your dumb shitty world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people buy into it.
Here's your pain and suffering.
And
I mean,
I
it
love
Machines
that.
are like,
reminds
here's
me
capitalism, you shitheads. Enjoy.
It really reminds me of the good place. I know TJ has seen that, but
Oh yeah.
I've seen like
it's
a
very
couple
similar to
episodes.
that.
Oh, yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like there's like a afterlife, but then like people aren't happy because it's like too perfect, and it's perfect for thousands of years or whatever, so they have to create a way to like escape it essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good.
I just also in that scene, another like thing that I like that Agent Smith says that I was actually like, oh yeah, I kind of agree, you know, he's making a good point.
Yeah.
Is that he's like describing human beings, and then he's like, do you know what follow another organism that follows the same pattern? A virus. He's like, humans are a virus on this planet, and we're the cure.
Yeah.
And like that's
Yeah.
fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of like a theme that they kind of address in like the second and third movie, but it's like you were saying, Travis, like this whole idea of choice, and it's like it's a limited scope of choice, but like that's why the perfect world didn't work out, is because like when given the choice, humans want to be the virus. They want to screw each other over and have wars and like, you know, attain wealth and like hurt people. Like that's, and they kind of talk about, because it's like it's still the Matrix. It's still your choice is very limited in scope. But it's like even then with such a limited scope, they're like, nah, I'm gonna be shitty. I'm gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make the argument that even if you have in the Matrix, if you have pretty much every normal choice you could make, you still don't, if they made it like the perfect Matrix or whatever, you still don't have one choice, which is to remove yourself from the Matrix. And that's probably part of it, is like they had to introduce that so that like people could feel like there's an escape, or here's another, this is like the ultimate choice. But then as explained in the next couple of movies, they have to cull the herd every so often. But
Yeah.
they basically know people are escaping, and they're allowing them to escape because it gives them this illusion of like, oh, we're free, we've escaped.
Yeah.
And now we're,
The machines are like,
but then
oh,
really it's not.
the machines are like,
Yeah.
oh, you escaped? Good luck, dude. Like,
Yeah.
For real.
you're gonna get flushed down a toilet. Good job, you did it.
Cool. Yeah. We still
Yeah.
own your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, Joe Pantoliano's character, it's like he becomes more sympathetic. I'm like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
because it's
Until
like
he
he's
starts
having,
killing people. Until he starts killing.
except for that, he's like having dinner with Smith. He's like, I think I want to be rich. Like, he's just like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
craft his.
I mean, the deal is so bad too, because it's like the Smiths could be. I don't want to remember anything, nothing, and then, like, okay, so I could just kill you then. Like, fucking stupid deal,
Yeah.
dude. Like, you won't
Well-
know anything.
See, that's the thing about the machines, and this is a thing that comes up again in the sequels. I think I would believe that they would hold the. Well, I mean, I guess I would say Smith while he's still tied into the Matrix, not Rogue Smith of the sequels, but one tied to the Matrix. I think they would hold that promise because,
It's part of the code.
well, the machines are a lot more forgiving and honest than no. I mean,
I know.
I want to get
It's
more
just
into this
funny.
when we, because I want to, because when we do Resurrections, I really want us to do the Animatrix too, which touches more on the history.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
and
definitely
it's
bound
kinda
by
where I
more
got this
rules.
from.
and-
Yeah, so I think
Laws.
they would have. I think they would have stuck to it. Yeah. But yeah, doesn't he say he's like I want to be an actor? He's like,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
put me in Bad Boys 2. Or
That's another good line though, where he's like, you know what I've learned,
Memento.
and he's got the little chunk of steak. He's like, ignorance is bliss, and then he just
yeah.
like, you know,
All right, we want to move
Uh,
into final reviews,
yeah.
wrap ups for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
movie.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Who wants to go first? Morpheus is first because he was out of the Matrix first.
There we go. I'll go first because that's who I was gonna claim for the end of show
Oh,
things.
okay.
Anyways.
Oh, I really wanted to be the twins though. That would have been so good.
That would have been so
yeah.
good.
I was so jacked up for that.
Maybe for Resurrections.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll do
maybe.
this. I'll do Smith again.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't get to one of my notes. My first note for the movie was Dragula.
Oh yeah. That was
like I forgot that was in here.
part of
Such
it.
a-
Is like the
love
music
that
is
song.
actually really, really good all the way
Yeah.
through, except for maybe that song. Like,
Oh, are you kidding me? I love that. That's like
I
that's a
don't know,
song
it's
like
just-
Andrew WK's like Party Hard. It's so like kitschy, rocky, but it's just so fun. I think it's such a
No,
fun
I
song.
know, but it kind of gives me like Catwoman vibes, where it's like really trying to be like, we're edgy, we listen to Rob
Oh,
Zombie, you know, that kind
And
of
Rage
vibe.
Against the Machine.
It was time
Yeah.
appropriate. It was time appropriate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess. It's just
Okay.
I don't know. It just gives me. It's just a little cringy, I guess. It's all.
Well,
It's
I
not a
love it.
terrible song, but
It's kind of like a guilty pleasure song. I'll say that, but I do love that song. Yeah. Kind of what I was saying in my opening statement, which was also kind of my wrap up statement. I think it's a damn near perfect action sci-fi movie. I think that yeah. I am kind of just restating what I said then. The pacing is awesome. There's like not a second wasted, which is like those are some of my favorite movies where like it it just keeps going. I remember thinking like into this, I'm before we started it, I was like, I remember like everything about this movie except like the first 30 minutes. But it turns out
No.
those first 30 minutes just don't exist. Where I thought the movie, or where the movie actually starts, I was like, no, that's like after they kind of like introduce, there's like 20 minutes before that, right? But no, you're just
No.
right into the
Yeah.
story and it doesn't stop. And it packs so much story into just 2 hours. Yeah, awesome action sequences, both like the martial arts stuff and then like technically just on fire. Um, I think I'm forgetting something, but it's a great movie. I think that also stands that like I just I do just remember so much of it, and it's not just because I've seen it so many times. It's just fucking almost every scene is like so memorable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I might I don't know. I'm between a 9 and a 10. Um, I really love this movie. I think I'm gonna go a 9. I think I'm closer to a 9. You know what? Moose isn't here. Let's do a 9.5.
Okay.
All right. I can piggyback off that because I'm probably about to make all the same points. Because
Yeah.
watching this almost no more than 20 years after it came out, I was very pleasantly surprised how well it's just like it's the perfect telling of a story. It justifies its runtime. Like you said, it introduces just enough lore. It introduces just enough characters. Everything, it's just so divided up perfectly on your plate. You've got your action sequences. You've got character development stuff. You've got philosophical stuff. You've got, I think I already said action sequences, and it's like you've got stunning like camera work, cutting edge camera work. Really, again, like seeing how they actually did the bullet time in 1999, and like it looks
Yeah.
so good is insane. And it's like this movie is like such a huge thing in like the public zeitgeist, like the idea of like living in a simulation, the internet at the time, red pill, blue pill, like, and it's like yeah, there's some stuff that is, yeah, again, like the whole like I'm red pilled kind of shit is like not great, but you can't really hold the movie accountable for that.
Yeah. No.
I think the only thing that like didn't feel like super great, and we can probably touch on this in the second and third movies, is like the romance between Neo and Trinity. It's like the only thing I think the movie didn't necessarily need was like a romantic
Right.
subplot. Like she's like, the Oracle told me that I would fall in love with the one, and I love you, and it's
Yeah.
that was like okay, whatever. So I am also sitting solidly at a 9. I think this is a damn near perfect movie, and they only made one, and they didn't make anything else after it.
Right. Right. Okay. I forgot I wrote this down. I didn't write this down to the second one, but the Xuanwu Ping is the guy who was the fight coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's worked with Jackie Chan fairly regularly.
Oh, nice.
He did Drunken Master. He did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2, Kung Fu Hustle, and Lethal Weapon 4. So
Nice.
that's a pretty good filmography. Yeah. There's I don't know. I guess I kind of feel the same way as TJ, or where it was like I've seen this movie, I was like, yeah, okay, it's The Matrix, whatever. And I also haven't seen it in probably 5-6 years, something like that. And I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. The Matrix is cool. And then we started watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, this part's coming up. And oh wait, this part's coming up. And it's like every minute there's a new thing that's, oh yeah, this part's coming up. Oh shit, I really love this part. Or this line's coming up. And it's just like that's just like just one right after the other for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I guess that's Nick, your point about the romance is valid. Uh, it's, I mean, I would still prefer this than like Anakin and Padme.
Well, I mean, okay.
I mean, it's better than that. So,
Yeah.
pretty much my only note is this. I don't know if it'll show, but so where it's underlined right there, I have one note for Matrix, and it just says "fucking great." Uh, this movie, yeah, I'm really glad that we watched this again because it's like one of my favorite movies.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a 10 for me. Like
Nice.
I was like 30 minutes in, I was like, yeah, this movie's a fucking 10. This movie's incredible. It's so like rewatchable. There's like no downtime. It's just like there's a lot of movies, even some of my favorite movies where they're 2 hours long and you're just kind of like, all right, just get to the good part.
Getting
But
back
it's
to
still,
like just like what you
solid.
said real quick about like, oh yeah, that part's coming up. The one thing that I do remember seeing this, and I think I remember seeing this as like a younger kid when it originally came out, and it terrified me, was the interrogation scene when his mouth seals
I
up.
wrote that down
Oh
too.
yeah.
And
I
then he
even
puts the
wrote
thing in his belly
terrified in
button.
all caps.
Oh, it's so.
That-
I just remember seeing that like when I was younger,
Yeah.
and just I was like, oh, that's gross. I don't like this at all.
There's
Yeah.
something
How,
like
melts,
so
Belly
Yeah,
button
there's-
stuff, man. Don't.
and the belly, yeah. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is that stuff feels so like unique from like almost like that movie, but like definitely the series to me at least. Like the mouth melting thing, like that feels really like The Thing esque
Mhm.
or something like that, like kind of like 80s body horror type shit. Like it was just like kind of a different vibe, and
Yeah.
that part of the movie does like feel different, which is strange because that's the part where
Yeah.
he's like, it's like up until the point that he actually gets pulled out of the Matrix, the movie feels just like completely different, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I just want to note that I decided to change mine, so I'm a 10 now too.
Aw.
I had a feeling I was like, oh damn, this actually could maybe like supplant Amadeus for our
It
top
might.
rated movie.
It
Yeah.
might.
And then we started talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, it really might.
Yeah, I was like kind of, yeah, like you made that point. Like I was going into this expecting, I was like, I know I'll like it, but I was literally thinking like a 7 or an 8,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
an 8 means like I really really like it, but I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, like you said,
Right.
like fuck, it's like the whole fucking movie is just on fire. It's so
Yeah.
good.
I feel like this is a movie that I need to put in a rotation of like I need to watch this movie once a year or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I wish it had some kind of like theme, like even if it was something like really super adjacent, like how some people watch Die Hard for Christmas. Oh, it's a Christmas movie, whatever.
Mhm.
Like if it had some kind of like fireworks in it, so you could say, oh, it's
4th
a
of July,
July
it's
movie.
Independence
Yeah.
Day. Yeah.
Right.
Independence from the Matrix Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Oh, Cyber
all right.
Monday.
So
That's when I'll watch it.
Cyber
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah. So yeah. Speaking of numbers and ones and zeros, we're gonna talk about more Matrix movies. I wasn't saying like I was saying because like computer, like binary and
Yeah.
stuff, like you do.
Yeah.
But
Speaking
first,
of capitalism and feeding the man.
yeah, there you go, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Word from our sponsors.
Word from our
As we take a break, and I
sponsors.
get a fucking cord.
I'm gonna
Alright,
go
I
get
will go
some more coffee.
And then came the shot. Boo 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 doo 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 boo 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 boo. Boo 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 boo. Boo 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 doo boo 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 boo.
Yeah, I need to get into.
Huh.
Was that your George Harrison impression?
Hoover, he was a body remover.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're back.
30 seconds ago, right when TJ started singing. Like you should come back with that, like just slowly fading that in.
Well, I was
Singing.
when I got back, I was I was kind of like moving around in here, but I was just going like ban it, and I was like, oh, they'll probably get picked up on the mic, so then I just kept going with it. All right, we ready to go in?
Yes.
Numero.
We're in. We're already in. We're definitely in.
Did they say that in the first movie, or was that the other ones? Or something? I think Trinity's like, I'm in. Like, I feel like someone does literally say that.
She says that. Is that in the opening
Community
scene? Oh,
that's what I think of.
Which one is that?
That's just like the stereotypical, like, I'm hacking, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like that, you know.
Yeah.
This is the one where they save the dean in Community.
Oh yeah, okay.
There's like a blooper too. They're like all dressed up, and Britta looks like a doll or something. Like
yeah, the like goth
Night Before Christmas doll. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff is like Chris Angel or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now the second movie in the trilogy, The Matrix Reloaded from 2002, also directed by the Wachowskis. I forgot to say that in the first one. That wasn't, but people probably know that. It continues the story of Neo and the Freedom Fighters. I'm gonna use that for every movie description now. As they continue their battle against the machine supremacy.
As they rage against the machines.
Yeah, shit, yeah. Yeah, that's a very apropos band to to play for the outro credits. For 1 and 2. Neo has now fully assumed the identity of the One. He is a lot more in control of his powers than he was in the first one. And they kind of just sort of continue their trying to win the fight, but also Agent Smith is back after being destroyed by Neo in the original. He is now a rogue program not tied into the Matrix, and he's got his own machinations, you could say.
Yes.
And I guess also the other sort of plot is that Neo keeps seeing these visions of Trinity dying, and he's like trying to stop that. Very Attack of the Clones, for bringing in the prequels again. And yeah, who wants to start us off in this one? I did the last one kind of. So
my first note is the tone immediately feels off. What I just like something about it, yeah, just felt off to me. Almost like seeing two black cats, walk by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there were aspects of this that I thought were really interesting and cool. Like we were kind of ragging on like the choreography a little bit when we were when we were talking about the first movie. I still think some of the fight sequences are pretty good, and overall the choreography is still pretty good, but I think the problem is that there's like a shift. There's a shift in balance where it's like I think they got feedback from what people liked about the first movie, and it is less about like the deep philosophical undertones or like the religious imagery and like the character development. And like bullet time was cool.
Yeah.
And then
no, that was
every single like fight sequence in this movie is just like they're upping the stakes, and every fight sequence is like way longer than it needs to be. Morpheus with the katana is still pretty cool. I was a big fan of that. This is I think my big gripe is just like the need to like lorify everything and just add more characters. Like and it's like they're so funny. I'm the key maker. I'm the train operator. I'm the. And it's just like, oh, okay.
I'm the dishwasher. Like nobody's just named Greg.
I'm the Oracle.
Just have names.
Yeah, I'm the Oracle.
I like it to some extent, because like, and the thing is that like you say that, but like I do really like those characters. I really like the Keymaker character.
Yeah.
And also speaking of John Wick, there's the Well, the John Wick is directed by two dudes, and I knew they were stunt coordinators, but I didn't realize how much of a Matrix connection there was, um, until I looked up the Keymaker because I saw him and I was like, I wonder if that's the doctor from John Wick, and it is. He's the doctor that stitches up John Wick like halfway through the movie.
Oh, that's funny.
And then
Oh,
I
that's
also
funny.
found out that the directors of John Wick, one of them was the stunt coordinator for the Matrix series, and the other one was Keanu Reeves' stunt double for the Matrix series.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think there's a couple other ties. I mean, in the second John Wick, there's Lawrence Fishburne, so there's another one.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, I love characters like the Keymaker and yeah, the action. Yeah, really I remember the park scene. I was like, isn't that like supposed to be like one of the real like standouts? But yeah, I thought it like there is some cool choreography in there, but I think it's really mired by the CGI to
Yeah.
where I just like didn't really enjoy it at all. I was really bummed out. Their little meetup before then I really liked,
Yeah.
Neo and Smith just kind of like talking and like, how'd you get back? And he's like, and now I'm free like you. And then Neo's like, congratulations. Thank you. Is that like the little
Yeah.
exchanges there? But the highway chase I thought was still great. And you know why? It's because a lot of that was practical. I think if they CGI'd the shit out of that, it wouldn't have been nearly as good. But like, I just like watching. I'm like, yeah, fuck, they crashed so many fucking cars.
I wasn't
yeah.
sure.
That's admirable.
I actually
I-
wasn't
I
sure if it
remember-
was practical or CGI.
Yeah, they
I remember,
built
like-
that whole section of
Yeah.
freeway someplace.
It's like, yeah,
like a mile long or something like that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
That's
like either
crazy.
in the behind the scenes or like during like the press stuff, like when these were coming out.
Yeah.
I remember that, and yeah. So I think that's like one of, I mean, maybe the only real standout scene, like really like impressive scene in this one, just because of the scope of it was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I was amped up to watch I shouldn't say amped up, but I was like, cool, watching the Matrix. That's cool. And then as soon as the Matrix was over and I was like out of the afterglow, I was like, "Ah, fuck, now I have to watch the next two. I just had like I had this just like dread. So I just had this certain amount of dread, like just like I don't want to do this. And it's like kind of like what Nick was saying. It's like the first I think it's like it's like the earliest one of the first scenes where Neo's fighting like agents and he's just like that part is cool. Like the beginning part where he's just like not he doesn't give a shit. He's just like it's still like end of Matrix 1 Neo where he's just like not even trying and just like kicking ass. Like that's cool. And they do that like legit, but then like as the movie goes on, it's like and the rest of the series, it's like they're constantly trying to chase the rabbit. That's a of like finding the next bullet time or like doing the next big like
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you
whatever special effect or whatever, trying to do the next big thing to like one up the Matrix, and it's like no, you nailed it with the Matrix. You can't like
Yeah.
you can't outdo perfection. So
And it's like you
just, like,
made Neo Jesus. What like where do you
Yeah.
go from there?
yeah,
He already died and came back to life, right?
exactly.
like-
Yeah,
Like we're
he
gonna do
already
it again.
sacrificed himself. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just that my first note was because I guess there's bullet time like immediately. It says I put earns none of this bullet time. Went from purposeful sci-fi to gimmicky look at me effects. Like that's all it was. It was like there was like
Yeah.
a purpose to the original bullet time, because it's like this bullet time is to show like he's kind of starting to believe he's like able to dodge bullets. He can't do it gracefully, but he still gets hit a little bit. But then it's just
there's
like,
definitely
bullet
meaning
time.
behind it. Well, where now,
Yeah.
it's like a parlor trick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I almost feel like I would maybe not be so harsh on these if they weren't sequels to The Matrix, right? Maybe if the first Matrix was as silly as the sequels, it'd be cuz like I'm trying to think of like so like this in relation to just like other sci-fi movies? Like, is it like worse than other sci-fi movies of the time? I guess I should say. Like, would it still be better than like the alternatives? But like when you're like the Matrix, the first one, like sure they don't, take down the entire Matrix and save the entire planet, but that could just be its own thing and it feels like a complete story and you're like, okay, you get it, he does the thing. It's like there's the hope. There's like it
It's
I
all
don't
perfectly
I
contained.
you
Yeah.
don't need sequels to that. You're like
Yeah.
No.
you get it and you can kind of extrapolate, you can theorize on like, oh, the implication is that, maybe
He
eventually
wins.
they win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you don't
He
need
can
to see
literally
that.
stop bullets. Like he can't, and he
Yeah.
comes back from the dead. He's like at that point, yeah,
Exactly.
he is God in the Matrix. So like
When you can stop bullets,
know.
like yeah,
And
it's the whole
fly.
thing where like the character is the most interesting when he's becoming the one. So it's like once it's
Right.
just you lose the interest. Like even fucking Morpheus, which another great line in the first one, where he's like, "What are you saying? That I can dodge bullets? I'm saying that
Yeah.
when you're ready, you won't have
won't
to."
have
Which is
to.
another
Yeah.
fucking great line.
Yeah.
And then you know what? He stops bullets at the end of the movie, and then it's like, okay, they kind of set that up as like that's the end of like,
Right.
okay, he's done it. He doesn't need to
Yeah.
dodge
There.
bullets anymore.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
make 2 more movies.
Yeah.
And also like usually like a prophecy is like, oh, the one will save us, and it's like, okay, so he's the one, so that means he saves them. Like you
Yeah.
don't, you
don't need to
need
see
to
it,
go.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it is the studio saying this was a huge hit. This was like this made so much money. The people demand more of it.
I think that was probably 99% of it.
And it's like,
Probably.
I think, I think the Wachowskis did the best that they could to try to expand on the universe and the lore and like the characters.
Mhm.
Basically with like the studio saying you need to make us more money, like
Yeah.
it's like you said, like in comparison to like other sci-fi movies at the time, I think the only reason that I'm ragging on it as much as I am is because like you said, the first movie sets the bar like so high that it's like if you don't achieve at this level, it's not gonna be, my expectations
Right.
are like to have my mind blown,
Mhm.
Right.
and it really didn't get blown.
I mean, to be fair to the Wachowskis, it's like you make this like fucking home run movie, and it's just like, it goes crazy like pretty much all over the world, and then the studio comes back to you basically like hat in hand and is like, please make us another movie, and you created this entire world. I would probably be like, well, yeah, fuck, why not? I'll try. Like,
Yeah,
you're gonna give me
yeah.
a bunch of money and I get to expand on this idea. Like, I'm sure they'd probably feel like a little bit intimidated, but also I would be like, why the fuck not? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun as fuck. I'm sure it was super fun to do all that shit. So
Yeah.
Speaking of like the world building and stuff, that's one thing that I will give the sequels is that like regardless how you feel about like like they're saying like you don't need to see Zion, I do like that the movies all do their own thing. They're not just like copies of the last one. Like this one, it's like now we're gonna like Zion's gonna be a big part of it. We're not in the Matrix quite as much, and then the
Yeah.
third one even more so. The third one's like hardly in the Matrix, which I know is a big source of complaint for a lot of people, but I don't really mind it. That's the next movie though, but I like that they all kind of, and this I look at it more as like I'm a lot more critical of like needing to know everything about universes now when there's just such an oversaturation of it, like Star Wars, Marvel stuff. Like you have to, there has to be a comic or like a show or something about every fucking character in the thing, and it's like who at that point I'm like, who gives a fuck how kyber crystals work? You put them in a lightsaber. And like I got it.
Midichlorians? What are these?
I got enough from it from like Knights of the Elder Republic. I'm good. Like 20 years ago. But at this time when that wasn't as much of a thing,
That's
I
true.
think it wasn't like that stuff is a little more welcome. And I like that the sequels, I mean, it's not as mind-blowing as the concept of the first one, but I like that they like kind of expand and like still give you more even though there's already just so much to take in from the first one.
That is a good
Yeah,
point that they didn't just retread the first movie. That is a good point because they easily could have probably done something similar to that. Like,
Yeah.
all right, now we're gonna go and we're gonna red pill everybody and we're gonna pull people out of the Matrix, and it's just like, you think
Yeah, except it feels a little bit like Biff from Back to the Future when he runs into the manure truck and it like they introduce new shit, but it's shit. Yeah.
I was to say
Because
it's
at
kind
least
of
with
like
Star Wars, there's like Star Wars is such a huge universe. Like literally, there's just
yeah.
there's I mean I know what you're saying, but I feel like with Matrix, it's a little bit more like contained. It's like Earth and
I think it's just because it's like it's so much with like nerd shit now. Where before, like before the Disney allocation or whatever of Star Wars, like you still had books and stuff, and I love reading those books. But it wasn't like you had 50 books coming out every month, as well as like multiple TV series and like oh my god, this is getting a little off track. But there's a thing where they announced like 12 new Marvel shows on like Disney Plus. Fuck you. I enjoyed WandaVision a lot. I enjoyed Loki a lot. I haven't finished What If, but I like that one quite a bit. So like it sucks when like I enjoy these things, but when you do that, I'm like, no. Fuck off. I'm not dealing with that
it's
shit.
like they give a show to
Star
Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
They did it with Star Wars too, kind of, and then they were like, people were pissed, and they were like,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
with all the
we're
movies
gonna
and
pump
stuff.
the brakes. We'll just make them shows now. We'll make Obi-Wan. We'll make Mandalorian. We'll make Boba Fett. We're good.
I don't want to. I know I've been talking for a while. I don't want to like railroad, but I feel like I'd be remiss to not mention the similar another trilogy that like this kind of like the trajectory of these kind of remind me of is Pirates of the Caribbean, where
the first one is a 10.
The first one is amazing. Like not even considering the quality, because I think the sequels of Pirates are better than the sequels to the Matrix. Not as good as the first one, but I still think they're better. They're a lot more entertaining. But no, what I'm saying is like the first one is its own contained story. You could leave it at that and be fine. But then they were like, no, let's make sequels. So they're like, okay, we're gonna like widen the scale, and then we're gonna end it on a cliffhanger, and then the last one's gonna start right off of that. So it's like it's weird because with both of these movies, it's not like the original Star Wars, or I guess each of the Star Wars trilogies kind of, maybe not the most recent one. But they're like, the three movies fuck me. I take that back. The first one, the original Star Wars trilogy kind of follows this arc too, where it's like the first movie is its own thing. So it's like there's two stories over three movies. The first movie and then 2 and 3 are a story. So it's a really weird thing when like you don't just plan it out and just have a thing for a trilogy if you're going to have a trilogy. If not, maybe just do one movie.
Just they don't know like if they're gonna get the trilogy, and
you never know when you're gonna capture lightning in a bottle like that. Right?
Yeah, I know it's like a little unrealistic in that regard, because sure, I don't think the Wachowskis were expecting it to be as huge as it was, right? So I don't blame them for like, they were probably like, this is, hey, we got a chance to do like a big studio movie, we have actual like celebrities in it, let's put her all into this. We might not get another chance.
Yeah.
And then they did.
And also, I think that in some of the circumstances, like with the Matrix, like especially, it's like they didn't like. You're not gonna write a trilogy if the story is the one movie. It's like you're not gonna write a trilogy for every movie that you make, because not every movie is gonna be a trilogy. Like or every story needs a trilogy. It's like Fight Club. Somebody said that earlier. Like you're not gonna like why write 2 and 3, because it's a contained story. Like That's it.
Yeah,
Like,
but did you know that Chuck Palahniuk did
yeah,
a second,
yeah,
third?
yeah. I
Is
mean, but
there?
that kind of
I knew there was like a
They're,
comic.
the
they're comics, yeah, but they're like written by him, and they're supposed to be like sequels. And I started collecting the second one because one, I was just like when I was really in my comic phase, and also I was like curious, and I hated it. I read like one or two
yeah,
issues, and I was like, I'm not reading any more of this. This is fucking stupid and pointless. It's like
yeah,
writing a fucking sequel to The Dark Knight Returns, which
right,
Frank Miller made too, and he shouldn't
yeah,
have.
right, right.
Did you guys
Um,
happen to look at who was potentially casted as Neo before they landed on Keanu Reeves?
It was Will Smith,
Will
Yeah.
Smith.
and he declined it to do Wild Wild West.
Yep. And he said he
Yep.
felt like he wasn't mature enough in his acting career to like play the role.
Oh,
And
I
I
didn't
also-
know that. I didn't know
yeah.
that was his reason.
And
Oh.
apparently, I think Johnny Depp was also like I think the Wachowskis originally wanted Johnny Depp.
I mean Captain
think-
Jack Sparrow?
Captain Jack
Yeah.
Sparrow.
Yeah, that was like during the same time, like the second and third one were.
Yeah.
during-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right when
I think like
yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson was approached for Morpheus at one point. Like, I don't know, we could
That
have had
one,
a
like-
completely different
See,
movie.
that,
I mean,
I
in
don't
this-
think it would have been the same as Lawrence. Like
No.
Lawrence Fishburne just is
Yeah.
so good in that role.
Iconic. It's an iconic role for him.
Yeah, this is gonna sound kind of insulting, but like, I think that the characters require a certain amount of like woodenness, like kind of like
Yeah.
almost like Kristen Stewart could play like Trinity, and like that's the only other like option I could see, like just somebody very like
I don't
and, like,
that
Lawrence-
thought.
Kind of stilted
Lawrence-
dialogue.
yeah, Lawrence like pulls it off, but he has like a little bit of like charm under, like he
Mhm.
still has that like wooden like statuesque like portrayal,
Mhm.
but he also finds a way to kind of like
He's
get
putting
a
it
little
on
like,
for sure.
yeah, he's got a little bit. I mean, it helps with his like his stage like dialogue or little
Mhm.
quips that he says, but
Mhm.
like he does have like it's not just his clothes. He's got some swag.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
also speaking of swag, the other swag in this movie that's untouchable is Niobe. The like she looks like she's straight out of like SSX Tricky, like a snowboard game from like the
Jada Pinkett
2000s,
Smith.
early 2000s. Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. There's your
yeah, that would have
Good
been kind of
connection.
weird actually.
yeah. it
Which
would've been
she's
kinda
going to be in
different.
Matrix Resurrections. Like, she's also confirmed to be in it.
Oh,
so-
nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean she's fine in this. I don't think she's
You just think
terrible.
she's got good drip.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she kind of okay. This is maybe a deep pull, but Liar Liar. It's like the receptionist, right? Where he like he comes in. Jim Carrey comes in, and she's like,
I
"Oh,
know
what do you think of
Oh,
this?"
you're talking about her hair. Like
yeah,
she's got the same
yeah,
hair. Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
yeah. And she asks like, "Oh, what do you think?" I think it's Sherry O'Terry, maybe.
No, I think it's just if I'm picturing her, I think it's just somebody.
Yeah.
But
But
speaking of
clothes-wise.
people looking like somebody, I'm gonna send you guys a picture. Nick, you should like put it on the screen for a second.
Oh
Okay.
shit.
You see it?
Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me...
the one
Yeah.
like elder guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
The beginning, like there's a convo between Morpheus and Link, who
Mhm.
takes over for Tank.
Yeah, I want to
Um,
touch on that because I love Tank in the first movie.
yeah, I have
Did,
some.
did they say he
background
died?
on that.
I didn't think
Like
he
between
died.
the movies?
He
Yeah, he died.
Because
He does.
I'm pretty sure he-
Well, I thought Cypher thought that he killed him, and then Tank came back
No.
and
No, in the
Yeah,
second
no,
one they say
that's
he
a-
died.
Yeah, that's the thing. He doesn't. He's still alive at the end of the first movie.
is he just
Right.
killed off screen? I guess.
It's because I looked
So
into
lame,
it.
'cause he's-
There's
I like him.
actually supposedly
Yeah.
there's a documentary about it, but he was written out over contract disputes. The
Oh,
Wachowskis only wanted to pay him $400K, and he wanted $1 million. So,
that's a bummer.
So they got Michael from Lost.
Yeah, yeah.
and so I don't know
Mercutio.
if there's anything to this, and it almost seems like maybe there's some kind of Star Trek vibes with like the sweaters that they wear. Like there's some that have
Mm,
Oh,
the
like the
okay.
color,
same
the color scheme.
color
Yeah.
palette. Because I think Niobe also wears red and Morpheus wears red. But in that beginning convo in the cockpit, Morpheus is wearing a red sweater and then Link is wearing a blue sweater. So it's kind of like the red pill, blue pill. But
Mm.
I don't know if there's anything to that because obviously, no, Link is he's like human or he's whatever. I don't think he was pulled out of the Matrix. I think he was born.
Yeah, no, the pilots are like generally
Yeah,
the
Tank and
pilots
Dozer
and
were.
the what do they call them? They're the operators
Operators. Yeah.
Operators,
are
yeah.
are Zion born or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So I don't know if that was like intentional or if it's like a Star Trek thing, like I said, or
yeah,
but-
I never thought about that, but yeah.
um
Oh,
so I think it's probably a good time to touch on the cave orgy scene too. Like that's gotta come up at some point.
Did you guys watch the MTV one that I sent?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean
did.
I've seen it 100 times, I'm sure. We watched
That's
it together, like
yeah, that's one of my favorite parts with Andy Dick like
yeah.
talking to Morpheus, like Morpheus, what can we expect at this orgy? Machines.
yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize it was like almost 10 minutes long. I would have said it was like
Yeah.
4.
I
Dude.
thought it was only the Will Ferrell sequence. Like I totally forgot that
Oh,
there
yeah.
was like
Oh, wait.
a whole other section.
Wet Willie, Mr. Timberlake.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I was gonna say I thought after watching the first Matrix, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I've seen like the first two like a million times, and then the third one I've only seen a couple times.
Yeah.
But after watching the second one, I'm pretty sure I was just thinking of the MTV Movie Awards thing. I'm pretty sure I've seen that like dozens of times. I'm pretty sure I watched the MTV one like so many times, and I've probably only seen this one a few times, a handful of times.
I've seen this one quite a few times, I think. The third one, I think that was maybe only the third time I've seen it.
I
The
remember
second one
I remember there was a long time because I think maybe I saw this one in theaters. This was the only one I saw in
Yeah.
theaters.
Oh.
But then I didn't see the third one, and then I had to like rely on you for the DVDs, and you never got the DVDs for like a long time, at least for the third one. So there was a long gap between when I watched the second and third one.
I think that's what it was. It was in between 2 and 3 that I watched 2 a lot. Because otherwise I just don't have any. It's just now that the third one came out, like after the third one came out, it kind of tainted the second one like even more. Just like I don't know, it just poisoned the whole well. There you go. You're good.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually knew a lot of what was going to happen in the second one, only because again, this is like the second time I've invoked his name, but like Isaac and Evan were like super into the Matrix at the time, and so I would go over to their house and we would watch Newgrounds like parodies, and there was this guy Legendary Frog. Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
It sounds a little familiar.
I'm trying to think of his other characters. He did a lot of like video game parodies. There's like he made a Zelda parody. Ark and Kerrigan were like his two main characters that he made. He had a fairly distinctive style, but it was him and a bunch of other people made a collaboration called The Matrix Has You, and there's basically different artists where they did different scenes, and like they did a shitload of scenes from like the second movie. So like there's like they parody the scene where he's like Neo fights all of the guys in like the marble staircase room, and like the voice actor who did like the French guy is just like, I survived your predecessors, I will survive you. Like I knew so many of the lines because of like the way that they were parodied. Like in the animation when he like uses his mind and gets like the what are those called?
The mace thing.
No, is that what Raphael has? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nunchucks.
No, the three prong spiky guys. I don't know what they're called.
Sai?
Yeah, but then like in the parody, like Obi-Wan Kenobi is like, "Oh, you stole one of my tricks," and then he tries to get like a lightsaber that's on the wall too. and like they parody the agents like fighting all the Agent Smiths in the park. So it's like I was like, oh yeah, I remember all these from like this parody cartoon that I watched when I was a kid, and I had no idea what it was referencing at all. But it didn't stop me from like referencing that like in my everyday life, because I was like, yeah, it's a funny joke that I don't understand at all.
So back to the orgy.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say. There's a scene. There's like a little scene in that cartoon where he's just like, I'm just gonna make up my own thing because I refuse to draw Neo and Trinity having sex. It's like scene deleted.
Yeah, that's first off, the acoustics in that cave are fucking like elite, like untouchable. Also, I think it's funny that like the whole time, like as soon as they get to Zion, they're like, "We gotta find a room. We gotta find a room, a closet, or whatever. We gotta fuck."
I know.
It's like you have your own room. On like, is it forbidden? Does Morpheus like? No, I don't have anybody to do. Like, you guys can't do that on my ship. And then like, as soon as like finally, as soon as everybody is distracted having an orgy, they're like, okay, let's go have sex privately by ourselves. Like it's like a nervous pooper type thing. It's like everybody else is like having sex right now, but like we gotta go privately, and I don't want anybody to see my ports.
It's like Avatar.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I wrote that down, that like more than like my whole world being shaken and like realizing that everything is fake and that the real world is like post-apocalyptic and like terrible, the worst part about being pulled out of the Matrix would be having those fucking ports on my body, because I'm really like bad at like picking scabs and stuff. That's all I would be doing when I wasn't plugged into the Matrix. I'd just be going like,
yeah, or like catching it on like doorknobs and shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Wow. I'll get to that. So also at the end of the sex scene, like, right, like it's Trinity's orgasm face is it's like exact. It reminds Neo of her death face that he sees in his dream. And that just like made me think, like, is everybody's orgasm face also their death mask? Like, like, is that what the video Faces of Death was? It was just like people like,
well, like, and there's that dude in Pompeii who's like jacking off when he got like
a real
smothered,
hero,
and he's kind of doing that same thing, and it's because he was doing both at the same time.
It's like one of those like kids books where you can like you have like it's like separated, it's divided into like 3 pieces, so you can have like Hulk's head with Captain America's body and like Iron Man's legs.
Oh yeah,
so you could just like have a picture of like a dead body and then a picture of like a person jacking off, and then you could just switch the heads, and it would be like, is this one dead or are they orgasm, or which one is it?
I didn't want to say, did you guys catch who the Merovingian was? The connection?
Who?
Merovingian.
The French guy.
He seemed familiar.
It's another movie we watched for the show.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He's
That's what it reminded me of.
He's like the company head or whatever from Catwoman.
Oh, really?
Sharon Stone's husband.
Yeah. Okay, I can see it now.
He looks way younger in this.
It's like 5 years before Catwoman.
That's only
no. This is the sequel. Yeah, this is like a year before. Yeah. Okay, no, I could definitely see it now. I knew I couldn't place him, but I was like, I've seen this dude before. I thought the twins had a much bigger role than they did. They kind of did their shit, and then they didn't die, did they? Or was like,
I think they
must
did.
have. Or
yeah,
maybe
I mean, they're
like
back.
They might have been like Jar Jar, and they were like, all right, we're just not gonna have them back.
Because I thought the one twin just like kind of phased back into the truck with the other guy, and then I feel like you just didn't see him again.
They blew up.
It explodes, and then he's like flying out. I think that was kind of to like show that dying.
Oh.
I don't know.
But then they went invisible, and it was like, okay,
Yeah, it's a little
I don't know.
confusing. Yeah, me too. That they're literally in like they have like that. They're essentially there for the freeway chase, more or less. They're like
Yeah.
kind of in a little before,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought they were kind of like sort of like there the whole time.
Right.
Also Smith is only in like 2 scenes in this one. He's like
Yeah.
but he's still good. He still brings it when he
Oh
is
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they were like, all right, you're going to be in less scenes, but there's going to be 200 of you.
Yeah. So technically,
So actually, you're in this a lot.
so this is a little dark, but the Oracle in the movie, she loves candy. She's always about like cookies and like candy and stuff.
Mhm.
And we'd probably get to this in the next one, but the actor who played the Oracle died. So that's why there's a different
Mhm.
actor. And the actor who played the Oracle died of diabetes. So it's kind of like
Okay,
I looked that up
okay.
and I was like,
Okay.
oh wow.
Okay.
That's kind of weird.
Okay. like what?
Somewhat.
Yeah,
The
that's
per-
right. I
like,
did look that up. I didn't even make that connection though.
Yeah.
just barreling through like the prop cookies in
Yeah.
every scene.
We need another scene of that. We need another take. And she's like, I can't feel my foot.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's all I could think. And I'm like, man, this is fucking dark. I'm sure that's not, I mean, obviously not. But...
Yeah, so the driving plot of this one is that they got to get to this key maker, and the key maker can like let Neo into a door. Is it basically to get to the architect? Is that like the driving thing? Like he needs to talk to the
which
architect.
is the source. That's the source, and that's like
Okay.
apparently that's the goal of the one. So it's like his journey was kind of supposed to end, as far as the prophecy is concerned. His journey was supposed to end when he goes to the architect.
The source, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to reset the Matrix, and then he basically gets to repopulate Zion with whoever he picks.
And that's like the significance to the one in particular, as opposed to the other ones, because he actually does something different. Like, yeah, kind of goes against the prophecy.
Yeah.
And that's
and it's
save Trinity. Is that
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, which he would have been able to keep. He got to pick who came with him, so he probably could have picked Trinity, but
well, yeah, but the whole thing
he
was like
would've
she
picked
was dying then.
Oh, that's
and like
right.
he had to make the decision
That's
right then.
Right. Yeah. I just think like it was such a bad decision to have that character. It's this is speaking from the mindset of somebody who was like 16, 17 when this movie came out the first time. Like they just do this, like it's just an info dump. They're just like, here's the entire plot, and they do it in such like a I'm trying to think of a not insulting term to use, but like they just do it in such a like up their ass way of like the words that they use, like how they dump the info. It's just not. They're trying to make it sound like all sophisticated and stuff, but really it just kind of muddies the message a little bit to where you're just like, wait, so what exactly is it? That's how I felt as like an 16, 17-year-old. And
yeah,
like it's only after seeing it, whatever, 5, 6, 7 times that I like go, oh, okay, I get it more now. But it's just,
well, that's kind of what the MTV Video Awards thing was parodying, especially with Will Smith. It was like he's
Ergo.
like ergo, vis-a-vis, what was the other one? Concordantly.
yeah. It's
Which
just,
I guess
like,
I didn't get it as much. Like, yeah, when he said like
Yeah.
concordantly, I did immediately think of the Will Ferrell, like, you know.
it's not
I
it's
thought it was
not the
really
worst, but that's like, I'm an adult now and I know words.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know the best words.
Yeah.
Uh, but like it's still just like it seems it's a little unnecessary. Like the rest of the shit is in like pretty basic like vocabulary. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's just like all of a sudden here's this guy and he's gonna talk like he's gonna talk like
A
Moose when
nerd.
he talks about his nuclear stuff, and it's just like, okay, cool.
What are you, some kind of computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought, like, in my head I was thinking that the architect scene was like the last like half hour of the movie. But it wasn't that long and I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that wasn't that bad. That was fine."
Yeah.
It was probably just cuz I watched it when I was a kid and all I cared about were like the action scenes. Um
Yeah.
uh yeah, you were leading us into that. Was your question just about the keymaker, Nick, or
Oh, I was just kind of I was trying to like give a little bit of like plot synopsis as well
oh,
for
okay.
like I guess podcast audience.
Yeah, okay.
Um
Um are did you want to like follow that up, or are we good to go into
the only other thing I
Right.
wanted to touch was like when they did the council. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys know who this is, but Cornell West is one of the
Is
council
that
members.
the dude with the
Yeah,
hair?
he's like
I knew it was somebody.
he's like a public leftist intellectual like from Harvard or something like that.
Okay.
Like he's
I
like
knew he
on
was like
MSNBC all the time. He's like on a lot of like leftist publications. But I was like,
okay.
it also, but like it seems like the perfect movie for Cornell West to be in. It's just,
Yeah.
I think that was even his name. Like
Was it
they
really?
didn't even change it. It was like you looked at his little name tag on like the thing, and I think it said Cornell on it. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
just who it is. It's not even like Elder West,
funny.
I
Huh.
was like, oh, weird cameo.
Yeah. Yeah. Um okay. Wanna
Yes.
I did this first last time. Who wants to I think we should each take it differently.
I'll take this one.
Okay.
I want to say that I mostly enjoyed some aspects of this movie, but the bar was set so high with the first one that it was impossible. It was impossible to recapture that feeling. And I think watching them all like in the same week really highlights like how high of an achievement the first one is, and then it's just like kind of diminishing returns. I mean, that being said, I think for the most part, like the acting is still pretty good. Like the characters are still pretty good. It's like they're kind of doing the best with like the source material. Like in my notes, I said that it feels weird to say, but the first movie seems more grounded in reality, like compared to this one where it goes. And I think I kind of said this in the intro, but basically it's like what makes the first movie stand out so well is that it perfectly balances science fiction, action, philosophical, religious, everything. And this movie, I think it just leans a little too heavily on bullet time and these big action set pieces, as good as they mostly are. Okay. The car scene, like the car chase, it was pretty good, but I feel like it just dragged on, and I just checked out during some of the action scenes, like the giant Smith fight. I checked out. The car chase. I was like, okay, cool. Morpheus has a sword. This rules. But it's like, how many times can Smith and Morpheus knock each other to the edge of the truck, and then they just barely climb back on? Like they do it
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And then they hit you with the Rage Against the Machine at the end again, and I'm like, this does not feel as earned as like the first one hitting you with like the rage.
And also, Calm Like a Bomb is not nearly as good as I like Calm Like a Bomb more than I like Matrix Reloaded, but it's not nearly as good of a song as Wake Up.
So I'm gonna be. I feel like I'm maybe being a little charitable here. I'm sitting at a 6 for this one. I think it's like an okay follow up. I think it does, despite it being like over bloated with action, I think it does like an okay job of showing Zion and showing a little bit of the lore and introducing a few new characters, while it's like obviously does not, hold a candle to the first one. So 6 for me.
Mhm. Okay.
Right.
Travis, you go.
So I just was looking at my notes, and it was like they started as like legitimate notes, and then for like a legitimate movie, and then as I'm reading them, I'm realizing, okay, I went on full into like Dud's movie mode. Like, it's just
Mm.
some of it's cringe. It's just it kind of. I mean, they knew there was going to be a third one, I guess, but it creates more questions that it answers. It doesn't really. I don't know that. I don't really have anything else to say. It's better than I expected, I guess. It's better than
Oh.
I was like really like I really don't want to watch this movie. I really don't. And then we were watching it and I was like, all right, all right. But it's still not good. So yeah, I'm at a 6 too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
The way
like
you were talking, but it's close to a dud and it's a 6?
no, I'm saying it like it kind of as the movie went on, it became just like my notes, but like
Oh, okay.
Dude, I
I
have
think it was
more notes about the
actually
third one. I have like 2.5 pages of notes for
I
like
gave up.
Revolutions, and I was like, oh, because like I always have way more notes for Duds, and like I have so many more notes for
Mhm.
Revolutions than
Yeah.
both of these movies.
I think part of it is that like I really thought that I was going to like hate. I was like fully prepared to give it like a 3
Mm. That's
or
what I
a
was
4 for
expecting,
this
actually.
one, and then like talking about it now, like I want to give it lower, but I wrote a 6. So like in the moment, like when I was doing it, that's what
Which
felt
is
right.
the true emotion or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't. It's not as bad as I remembered. I think that's what kind of boosted it a little bit. Which is
Um,
not saying a lot, I guess.
yeah. I guess I kind of had the opposite. I thought I was gonna like it a little more than I did. I thought I remembered liking it a little more. But for me, I think it was it's just so forgettable. I think it's the most forgettable out of all three. Um uh I like there's scenes that I can recall, like park fight. Okay, yeah, sure. The freeway chase, that's again like the standout. I think that's a really good sequence, really impressive. That's the only one that like kind of like comes close to like I think like the action what they're doing in the first one. Even like the fight they have at the Merovingians, which feels like one of, if not the only real like martial arts
Fight,
fight
yeah.
they were doing in the original one. It's not the same. It's one of the better ones, I guess, because it's not like CGI fest, but
Right.
it's still just not as interesting. Yeah, I also don't have much else to say other than I'm rating it lower than you guys, but also I feel like Travis's sixes are like my 4 and 5s. Um, because I'm thinking of 4 for this one for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
kind of wanted to give it like a 5 as we were talking, but I
yeah.
don't know. Maybe put 5.5 just because I'm
5.5.
yeah, like in the kind of in the moment I was 6, and now like yeah, I just kind of like you said, it's a little bit forgettable. And that scene that you were just talking about, the Merovingians, like they did the same thing with the bullet time where it's like, oh, he stopped bullets in the first one. What can we do in this one to up the ante?
Do it again.
More bullets. And it's
Yeah.
like assault rifles and shit. And it's like,
I
okay.
I find the things that I'm like the joy that I get out of these, other than the couple like legit like action scenes that I enjoy, it's like a completely different reason that I like the first one. Like I kind of like can get into like the architect's whole like, because that's getting into the more of the philosophical stuff that I like
Mhm.
about the series. But it's not as good. It's not nearly as good as like as especially when you compare it to again fucking Agent Smith's monologue in the first one.
Yeah.
It's like an all-time great monologue.
Right.
Oh well, no,
But it's
they
still
they
tough
up
to
the ante by
enjoy
him stopping the machines, like
it.
Oh yeah,
outside
That's
that
of the
too.
true.
Matrix.
That is
That's
true.
true.
That's actually a good example of again like upping the scale, upping like
Yeah.
what's happening. Um But
That's probably why these movies aren't as good, as there isn't as much Agent Smith in them.
yeah,
It's like it,
could be.
which actually I just realized with the earpiece, I'm kind of more doing an Agent Smith thing
Yeah, you are
anyways.
kind of, yeah. But what I was getting at was that, like, other than those couple like action scenes that I think are still pretty decent, I find myself like enjoying these for more like ironic or like campy reasons, like when like other than Agent Smith showing up, like my favorite character in the movie is probably the Merovingian because of how fucking smarmy and cheesy he is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a different movie. Um, and I would say that like that those kind of sentiments carry over into the final movie of the series. Are we going to take a break or do we just want to go into it? I'd rather just go into it because I
just
kind of
power
want to
through.
get
Yeah.
moving. Okay.
Power through this.
The final movie of the
Slog.
series, The Matrix Revolutions,
Even the
which came
fucking
out,
cover is
whack.
trash.
The
It's so
It
bad.
looks like one of those multi, like 4 movies in one, like
yeah.
DVD sets or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going with
I
that,
think my
so,
trilogy is a different cover. I think it's just Neo and Trinity standing in the rain.
these are all the original like DVDs, so
Okay.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know, the Matrix one is one of those old like it's just like cardboard or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and it's
I got a
that
few of
little
those.
opening thing.
That's
Yeah.
old school.
This is like one of the first DVDs. Like I know it was Travis's first DVD. Mine was Shrek. Remember that? Anyways, the Matrix Revolutions concludes until the new
Later
Matrix movie
in
coming out.
December.
Yeah. Concludes the story of Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, and the rest of the freedom fighters as they take as the war against the machines reaches its final stage. The machines reach Zion, and Neo and Trinity make their way towards the machine city. So both opposing forces are heading towards the capitals or whatever of the other side. So it's like, it's the end game. Also, I guess another like the big cliffhanger at the end of Reloaded that they continue here is that Agent Smith assimilated a person, a real person, and named Bane. That's the character's name. And now that guy is he assimilated him while he was in the Matrix, and now the guy is back in the real world, like on the ship with everybody, and he is basically Agent Smith in the real world. And there's a little like, but he's like hiding. It's like it's kind of big Among Us vibes. Yeah, without the superpowers, we'll say he's just a normal person.
Agent Smith is Sussy Baka.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a good intro. So Travis,
That's more than this shit deserves.
Okay.
Start it off.
I really I'm trying to read my notes and I really can't like parse them because it's just like ripping on individual moments. Like one of my first ones is just my big dead ass. I don't know what that's in reference to.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that line. Yeah,
you'll have to do it over my big dead ass. Like,
are you
what?
dead ass right now?
Okay, yeah. And then also, I put they need to get a season pass so they can unlock more skins. They always wear the same shit. Morpheus still got drip though, because they always wear the same. They always have that. Like you think that they can go in with like anything that they want. So like, change your clothes. Like get some skins.
Well, yeah, that I was almost gonna say like between the first and the second movie, whenever Neo's in the Matrix in the first movie, he's just kind of wearing like civilian clothes, and then the first time you see him in Reloaded, he's like
got the long coat.
He's like, yeah, I got sunglasses now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've earned these, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do I get to take the earpieces off of mine? You don't. This for me.
After like hearing like kind of you guys like sort of alluding to the sequels earlier, and now especially after that, this will be interesting because I am more positive on this movie than Reloaded. So I think it's like the inverse
Oh.
for you guys, I think. It's still no,
Crazy.
it's still not great. I'm not crazy, but my like I said, my main gripes with Reloaded is that it's just so forgettable. I think there's a lot more memorable, like fun bits to this one that made it stand out. As ridiculous as it is, but if we want to get on the negative, I will say, and again, I'm a person who I'm all for like your big like not always, like I don't really like Pacific Rim or like
Yeah.
the Transformers movies.
Kaiju type stuff. Yeah.
Well, but not just
Godzilla.
I
I know you like
love
Godzilla.
yeah. I could get into like yeah, Godzilla versus King Kong. People are like, oh, the story is like dumb. I don't give a fuck. I
Yeah,
want to
no.
see big thick
Mech
Lizzie
fights.
go against big fat monkey. Um, but that said, I thought the whole battle for Zion was so fucking boring. Like,
Yep.
God, that was a fucking slog, and it was so long. I was like, can we get back to Neo and Trinity? Because like
Yep.
that was
Yeah.
so much. Like everything with them, I thought was pretty. Like, I enjoyed their storyline after they split.
Right.
Like, all those scenes are pretty good. I like. I don't know if we want to get to it quite yet, but since Nick brought it up, like back when we were talking about the first one, there's a couple. I would say this is like the one standout where I was like really affecting, even surrounded by all this like meh movie. The scene where they go above the clouds,
Yep.
it's like it's really
It's-
like
It's the
fuck.
high point of the movie for
It
sure.
literally it's the high point of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
yeah, that moment is actually like fuck. This feels like this shouldn't be in this movie because that moment is so good because you're like it really like even right now I'm getting chills because I think that moment is just so it hits you so much because not only like the way that like I almost said Carrie Fisher, Carrie Ann Moss like acts it, and then like you see the sun for a second. You like the viewers hardly even see the sun, which I think works for it too
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's so quick. And I like that they don't like linger on it. It's really just like 10 seconds that they're up there, and I love that like because me knowing that that's where she dies, I kind of get like it hits me as she's like looking at the sun. She's like, I don't know, I don't remember what she says. She's like, oh my god or whatever, and then you see the shadow crawl down
Right.
her face.
It's like immediate
as they go
too.
back. It's
They
so
don't
quick,
linger on
and
it.
I
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I think that's why
Yeah.
it's so effective because she says like wow, and then boom, death,
beautiful.
and that's what that is. Like
Mhm.
as the shadow comes over her face, it's death, and fuck, I love that scene so much. It's so
Yeah.
good,
It is
and
really good.
I'll say that's the only scene where I will be that praising over this movie. But right before that, you have like 30 minutes of boring ass robot fighting
Right.
with people you don't like. They're like,
don't
oh,
know.
you want to we're gonna try to make you care about this captain guy in the machine, and then the kid character, and then like
I'm only
Tank's
16 and I
wife.
can't join the army. Just trust
Yeah.
me. I'll do good. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I wonder if he's gonna do good later.
Yeah. And then like also this they it's not even just them. They have like multiple because then they have Tank or not Tank, Link's like
Link.
wife and Ruby Rose that she like teams up with.
Right.
If
Yeah.
that's that girl reminded me of. And like it's cutting between these multiple storylines that I just don't care about. And
Yeah.
like how we make that boring? I
Yeah,
like robot
there's-
fights.
There's also during that part is also the Jada Pinkett Smith like steering through the tunnels, the ship, and it's
Goes on
like
for a really long time.
yeah, it's a very like
How-
nowadays that it's equivalent to the like girl power scene in like Avengers. It's like the girl power scene before girl power, and it was like it's because it's not like right
Yeah,
in your face.
I
It's
mean-
really like subtle. They're not like looking around like we're the women now and we're in charge. It's like
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
I
like
think-
really well done. It's a really well done like girl power scene. Like that's cool. But
That's why it's good because this is before it got all like pandering and studio
Right,
focus. So it's
right.
like, yeah, we have to. And also, like, if you think about it, like, sure, there's Neo and Trinity, even though she dies. There's Neo, but like all of the other like heroes are, you know, POC and if you want to talk about like being like
I will
progressive, it's a
say
very like
diverse, yeah.
diverse cast, which is
even in
really
the first
cool.
and second movie, it's like it's very very diverse, and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like they're trying to like
Forced.
meet a quota. Like they just
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
no,
it
I
feels
thought it was very
supernatural.
well casted in that regard.
I wanted to go back to the like kaiju because I feel the same as you. Like I'm not a huge fan of like Pacific Rim or like, but I said the same exact thing to Kelly. Like a lot of the fighting, especially that machine stuff, some of it is like the CGI, but a lot of the fighting it's just so unintelligible. Like I can't read what's going on. It really
Yeah.
reminded me of the first Transformers where it's like it's just these machines that are rolling around. Like I can't tell, was that a punch? Was that a kick? Or is he standing? Like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I know what you
And
mean. Yeah.
it's not just that either. There's the scene with Bane and Neo where they fight and like Trinity gets pushed down in the well
Is
or
that little,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of that is unreadable. There's like flashing lights, and it was like they didn't
Well,
want
when
to
yeah.
they didn't want to spend time doing choreography, so they hit it with like strobe light effects and cuts. It just was like it's not a good fight. Like that's
I,
kind of what they hang their hat on in the first one and somewhat in the second one, and then they just kind of cut corners because I guess because they had the 10-minute 15-minute fight at the end, like the big
yeah. The
thing where
big
I like
bombastic.
yeah, they had maybe they didn't have enough time to choreograph and train and practice for
You,
all these other moves.
you
Or
know,
the other fights.
I would agree with the like knock against the Bane fight a little more. I get from an editing thing what you're talking about, like, you know, you don't get to see the hits like you do in like the first one or whatever. But it's all in service of the story, so it doesn't bother me as much. Like it's not like she cuts the power, so Neo has a chance to do that. But also they set that up to blind Neo. Like
Yeah,
there's
which
consequences
is
to why that scene is like that. And
yeah, it's not
and
they don't
also
do nothing with it, I guess, but
and also as far as it being like a dirty, messy fight, it makes sense because they're not in the Matrix.
no, I
So like
know.
they're
I'm
not
just
gonna
saying
be as
like
quick.
readability of actually seeing what happens is like
Yeah, I get what you're
just
saying.
like the choreography itself, not like yeah, it works with the plot and I understand all that. Like yeah, it works with that, but like just
I,
like it's and like the same thing with the mech fights, which I just think mechs are just so fucking stupid. Like in any context, they're just so dumb. Like
I like Mech
it's just
Assault. I like that series. That game
it's
series is great.
it's just when it's unreadable like that, it's just I don't see the
Yeah.
point of it. It's like
Yeah, it definitely kind of drowns in its own spectacle at that point, where like
right.
Yeah.
there's literally I made a note for Reloaded where I was like, this movie makes the first one seem more grounded in reality, and then at the end I was like, Revolutions makes Reloaded seem way more grounded in reality.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, I didn't think it could get worse than that, but I guess so. Yeah,
The
like
only
the
mech I like is Mecha Godzilla.
I like Metal Sonic. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Metal
But
Sonic's
yeah,
cool.
no, it definitely like if you're looking at it like a pie chart, like the second movie like tilts way more towards like the action sequences. For this, I would have taken way more of those over just like the extended fight in Zion, where it's just like
That's
machines
so
versus
bad.
mechs with
Yeah.
characters that I don't care about. This captain guy, is that the dude that's like in the love triangle with Trinity, or is that a different guy?
It's the
Wait.
dude
Not the
he's
dude in the
other
mech,
like
the other like commander that like
y-
talks to the council or whatever.
yes, he is.
Did I say
Oh.
Trinity? No, I meant Niobe. Sorry.
No, Niobe. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Yeah.
There's like which like again that also felt forced a lot. The love triangle aspect, and it's like some things never change, but some things do change. Like they said that like 4 times. I feel like.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, that's definitely they try to like they do that with characters and just like plot points and also the romance where they just like try to like cram it's like they're trying to cram way too much into this movie.
And it's
It's
like
just not there's not time. You
I
need to
think
answer all your other questions.
Yeah, and then the whole idea of so this movie takes place literally directly after the events of the second movie. And it's like Neo's in a coma because when he stops the machines outside of the Matrix, it like takes so much out of him that he like becomes plugged into the Matrix. Neo invented Wi-Fi in that moment because because he's plugged into the Matrix without actually being plugged in like physically in his person. And I feel like that could have been way more of like an interesting idea to explore, like the sort of like purgatory train station where he's just like kind of like in an infinite loop where he's like stuck in between. And then like I don't know, I don't even remember how he got out, because it's like the train guy shows up and takes the little girl. Was she supposed to be like the replacement Oracle? Or is she? I don't even know.
No, she's just like she's like all the little
like
kids
programs.
in the first movie.
Yeah.
Like all the little kids that are with the Oracle in the first movie, the There Is No Spoon kid. Those are all like exiles. Like basically, they're kind of like Agent Smith, I think, in a way, like the rogue programs, but they're just not malicious.
They didn't break bad. Yeah,
they're
not evil.
No, he got, and by the way, just for he got out of the train station because Trinity and Morpheus and the other guy, Seraph, went to the Merovingian again and made a deal with him. That was like the whole thing when they went there, and they were like, "I'm going to kill you if you don't let him go."
Yeah.
Speaking of Breaking Bad, when Trinity dies, it takes 45 minutes, and I wrote, "Why don't you just give up and die?"
Oh
yeah,
but speaking
it goes
of
on a little long.
The Merovingian scene, I just wrote like this giant Mexican standoff is the perfect metaphor for this series trying to find its tone. Like everyone's just got guns pointed at each other, and I was just like, yeah, this is perfect.
Speaking of like what I mean, that like I like stuff that I like about this one more is, again, like I said, I focus on it for different, the positives I get out of these is different than the first one, because I said I like the Merovingian. I wish he's just in one scene in this, but I still really like him in this one. I like how like cheesy he is. I also really like the train man. I like that like over the top, like he's just like a hobo for some reason, and he's really like, I don't know. I also, you guys might feel
7 wristwatches on his
yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, it's a character, right?
Yeah.
It's like it feels like, it's they feel like fully realized characters when they're so like unique like that. It's not just like here's another bad guy. And then you guys might feel differently about this, but I also really like I really like the Bane stuff. I like that he does like a Hugo Weaving impersonation.
Yeah,
and he's
Hugo,
not that bad.
I was almost
good.
like, did they have Hugo
Really
Weaving
good.
like ADR this, or does this guy just
like his tone of the like, don't you know who it is, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah.
That whole like, I totally was into the Bane standoff and fight. I knew like you can't really stretch that out any more than like, obviously he's there because he wants to try to kill Neo. So he's going to try to kill Neo, and it's either going to be he dies or Neo dies.
Right.
But I wish he could have been in it more in some way, because I really, really liked him. So that whole thing, Neo getting blinded, I'm like, I knew that was coming. I was like, oh, that part always like gets me, because I'm like, oh, that's so fucked up. And so yeah, I dig all that stuff.
Yeah, I just remembered that the Seraph guy, he reminds me of TJ knows this guy, maybe not by name, but Francis Bourgeois. He's the train kid on like TikTok. He like goes he wears the head cam, and he like fish eyes his face. I'll send a link.
Seraph reminds you of him?
Yeah, just like in like 50 years, like when he's just been like, oh shoot, I didn't send the link. What an idiot.
Are we talking about the same person though in the Matrix?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, the hobo looking dude. It's like this guy has gone. Oh wait, that's not Seraph?
No, I think you're talking about the train man. That's
Yeah,
the
the
Hobo
train
guy.
man. I'm talking about the
No,
train man. Yeah, sorry.
Seraph is the like
Oh, the
Jet
program.
Li knockoff
Right.
guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, an
No, yeah, I was
unforgettable
talking about the
character.
train
Can
guy,
you
sorry.
imagine if this movie was Sans Serif?
Yeah. Yeah, no, the train
can
guy.
see that then, the train. And he's
It's
the train man. I didn't even think about that.
That's what I'm saying. He's like the train
Okay.
man like 40 years, and
Okay.
he's like
Okay, when you're
really
editing
bought
this, you need to
into
put
it.
that image up on the.
Yeah.
The dude is. You should watch that, guys. He's like really.
Love
It's
trains.
like halfway between like parody and like he's sincere, but there's also like some parody to it. Like there's one of my favorite ones is like he's like, I'm waiting here because two of my favorite trains, 86503s, are being sent to the scrapyard in the sky or whatever. And then they're like, it's just like a close up of his face with that like 360 cam,
But
and he's like crying.
So it's like
Oh.
it's kind of like adorable in a way to like see someone
is.
so emotional over a hobby, but also he
He
shouldn't use
really
that
loves
camera.
trains, but at the same time, like I think he knows, like it's
He's
self-aware
got
because
to the dick my
there's
butt
one where
one.
there's one that the train's called Dick My Butt, and he's like, it's my favorite train, and he takes a picture by it, and yeah.
Is he autistic? I don't even
think
mean
so.
because I
don't
know
know,
like
I don't think so.
obsession with
Possibly.
like trains is like I guess it's kind of a trope, but that's like a characteristic of like some autistic
Yeah.
people is like they love trains, like model trains. Like
Trains in
I don't know if it's
particular?
because like they're on a schedule and like there's different models and all that kind of shit, but
Huh.
it's like I know that's like a thing. So whenever I hear someone obsessed with trains, I'm like, are they on the spectrum? Like, 'cause
I mean,
that's definitely
yeah,
a thing.
it's possible. I don't know. All I do is I see his face pop up and I click on it and I watch the video and that's it. That guy and the kid who they always like, he's like stoned or something, and they
Oh,
want
yeah.
you to
Give
eat
him the
this, and
food.
they give
Like
him
the
like an
bussin'.
ice cube or something. And
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
it's bussin'.
Um
And it's also like the close up like fisheye thing. That's like I guess that's my thing, I guess.
just so it sounds like I'm not like just heaping praise on this movie. I did take a lot of issue with the whole Oracle thing. I
did not like the way that they like addressed it.
I think they should have either not addressed it, or if they were going to be like, oh yeah, I got a new shell or whatever, they should have made her completely different. They should have made her like a little like a white boy, like a 5-year-old or something like that, like just completely different.
Like a child, instead of just like we replaced like one cosmic black woman trope for another cosmic black woman trope.
Like
Right.
yeah, like you gotta, so like that's what you wanna, that's that, like does she get, I don't know, it was
They did
yeah.
like a Dumbledore where it's like
but
the
but
actor died.
but
And
the
then
thing is,
they didn't need to. They do this whole background of like, oh, I'm a new thing now, though. So it's like completely different. It's like if Dumbledore died and then came back as
yeah,
like
and
reincarnated.
and they mentioned it so much that like, oh, she has a new shell, and they're like, oh, you wouldn't be here, you know, oh, and then the Merovingian's like, oh, I guess the Oracle got a new shell, meaning like she's hidden now, you know, people don't know. So it's like, oh, okay, so I guess like it kind of plays into, but then she just dies, or you know, she gets assimilated or whatever. So like I was like, oh, so it didn't really matter. They really didn't need to reference it, like it, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They would
like
have been
Dumbledore.
way.
They just don't address it because you're like, okay, we get it. Sometimes that
Yeah.
happens.
Died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, really, really whack. And like, not that it's her fault, but I really like the Oracle, the original Oracle, a lot more.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not that it's her fault that she died. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like that. I guess I mean like I don't blame the like
the new act. Okay.
the new one. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Not
The way you
original
said
one.
it made it sound. It made it sound like.
Come on, they shot
that
those
it's her
movies
fault.
back to back. She didn't have to, you know.
Oh, okay. So here's a couple I like how we got off track like super quick on this one. I always know when it's gonna get a bad score because like we don't talk about the movie. We start talking about Train
Yeah.
Kid and so I had two questions, I guess, and I kind of have the answer for one of them, which is the first one. They kidnap or they kidnap. I don't know. They tie up Morpheus and they're questioning him. What are the access codes for Zion? Blah blah blah. And then they never get the access codes to Zion. They just take these big fucking drills and go right in it.
Yeah, you just
So it's like why? And is it just to keep up this illusion of like there's not this grand overarching thing of the architect, like to kind of keep that concealed or something, that there's I just it just doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, I'd really like to know if the Wachowskis intended on making a trilogy or not, because I feel like in
don't
the
think
in the
so.
first movie, I feel like that was just like a throwaway line to give the agents a reason to interrogate Morpheus and be like,
Yeah.
we're the bad guys and
Yep.
we want to destroy humanity. So what are the codes to Zion? And I think that was just meant as like for stakes. And I don't know if we were ever meant to even see Zion, but
Yeah.
we're on the third movie, so I guess we have to. And yeah, it's
Right.
kind of a moot point because they just Kool-Aid Man busts through. So like, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I really don't think that they did, and in because if you take just him like being interrogated, like it makes sense in the context of just that movie. Like they want to get to Zion because it's the last human
Mhm.
holdout on Earth. Like okay, yeah, that makes sense. But then they almost like retcon it. Like
A little like one part from the whole Zion fight that I thought was kind of cool. Not nearly as like cool as like I was going on the going up to see the sun thing, but like you see like the sentinels like pouring through the hole, and then like there's a moment where like a horde of them come through and it's just like a black mass, and then they kind of like form out into like separate like fingers. I thought that part was like, whoa. Like if I cared about this fight, that would be like
That'd be
way
pretty
cooler.
yeah,
But I thought that was like, it's like for a second it's like, whoa, like fuck.
if I was
But I don't care
interested
about
in this
this.
at
If
Yeah,
I was
all,
engaged in any
exactly.
of this.
But that moment was cool, yeah.
if I
Um,
didn't just look up from my phone in the last 2 seconds, I would have.
Yeah, I was on my phone way more than
Yeah.
like the first movie. I was like engaged. I was plugged in.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
See, I think the second one I think was the harder. I mean, definitely that Zion fight was tough to get through. But other than that,
Yeah.
I think the second one was the one that was like hardest to
Like you
not
said,
check my phone.
it's just like it goes on for like 5 minutes and you're like, okay, that's probably enough of this. And then it just keeps going for 20 minutes and you're like, just get back to Neo and Trinity at this point. Like just get
Yeah.
back to them. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so sick of this. And like their whole system of, oh, we've got these super special mechs. How are we gonna reload them? Oh, I don't know. We'll just have a kid push a wheelbarrow through a battlefield. Like that makes sense. Fucking stupid.
hope he doesn't get domed.
Yeah, they've got like hovercrafts and shit. Like, you
Yeah.
can't make something else.
Yeah, it all just kind of falls apart. Yeah, I guess let's do the Neo and Trinity stuff, because this is the part where because like Carrie Ann Moss is slated to be in the fourth movie, but it's like
Right.
Trinity definitely is fatally wounded. I mean, do you see her die? Do you see her actually die?
Well,
Yes.
I mean, like he kisses her
Well-
and then she's like, closes her eyes and stops moving.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wrote a note. It was just like, "Kiss me, Neo," and I was like, "Trinity, I can't see anything."
he like
Yeah,
kisses
he
her
like
like
kisses
eye.
her chin.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, that was another cool. Also part of the Bane thing, which I also liked. Part of that I did like, as opposed to like the flashing lights and not being able to see anything. I really like when you see Neo's, like, it's the shot of Bane talking to him, like the actual actor, and then it cuts to what Neo sees, and he sees Smith there,
Like
Yeah.
the
like on
the
fire.
flaming.
I thought
yeah.
that's really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my other
So
question.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with Trinity. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am really
My-
confused with where the new one's gonna go.
My other question about Zion is why the fuck would they not have an EMP? Like
Like
they're obvious.
multiple
Yeah.
or
I
something.
mean, just in case they get to like from what you can.
Oh yeah, because they have to wait for the ship.
Yeah.
The ship has, yeah.
Yeah. And it like barely makes it, and it's like, okay, so all you have is like, okay, you have a door, right? And they want the access codes to it, and it's like, it's just like a steel door. Like, why couldn't they just like get through it without access
bust
codes,
it.
or just do what they do? Like, it just seems kind of dumb, and like, why wouldn't they have like they put all these resources into making 100 mechs, build like one more EMP.
Yeah.
They have the resources to put them on every ship like individually. It just doesn't, that part just does not make sense to me at all. It's just so that they can have the whatever. They didn't have enough to fill it out, so the movie out, so they
Well,
put in
they had to pay
40
off.
minute Zion.
They
Yeah.
had the payoff for the kid's heroic moment where the
Right.
guy dies, so he climbs into the mech and gets the door open so they can
And
get
they
there.
had right, and they had to give Morpheus and Niobe something to do.
Yeah.
They had to have their moment of piloting the ship and
Yeah.
That's something too. Is like, sure, Morpheus is like there, and I'm not saying like I would want them to take that from Niobe, because like I think she's cool. Like I think that's like a cool moment for her. But like Morpheus is just completely sidelined in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is just really frustrating because he's like one of the best parts about the first two.
Oh yeah.
Like he's him and Hugo Weaving are like my two favorites in the first one. I love the balance that Larry brings to the character. I want to talk about this when you're talking about like this sort of stilted acting that like is kind of required for this. I think it's because like obviously this movie and the Wachowskis are very influenced by like Japanese, Chinese, like martial arts cinema, and like that kind of those have that kind of like over the top but also stilted type of acting. Like the villains are very, especially in this when Agent Smith does his like his villain laugh is so fucking good. And I think Hugo Weaving and Larry Fishburne like encapsulate that the best. That sort of like kung fu cinema characters, and it's just a bummer that he's just there in this one. He's like hardly any different from that like that bitchy captain character who like didn't want to give up his ship. Like he's like as important as that guy. But then when he like, I love the moment where he like sends off Trinity and Neo. That moment is really good. It's like in Revenge of the Sith, the last time Obi-Wan and Anakin see each other before the final fight, like goodbye old friend, like that type of thing. Because what does he say? He's like, the honor was mine, sir, and then he's like, no, it's always been mine, or something like that. And I was like, you know what, Morpheus is like one of the best leaders in movies. He's so good. Okay, somebody else can go. I know I went for a while.
So then the machines need Neo to stop the rogue Agent Smith from basically like taking over the machines, because he's become so powerful. He's basically assimilated everyone into the Matrix. It was so funny to just like see rows and rows and rows of Agent Smiths like inside the buildings, all looking, and he's like,
this is what you wanted, people, isn't it?
Yeah. But it was a pretty good line when Smith was just like, it's just because he only fights one, like Neo only fights one of the Smiths, and he's like, I thought it would be fun to watch. There's like, I wanted to give myself a great view of the action or something like that. And like, there's like a scene kind of like where it's like panning through the crowds of them. And I don't know, I feel like almost like the Eraserhead baby, like some of the Agent Smiths are just like,
There were some literally going like,
they're like, this is gonna be cool.
It gives me like early 2000 like sports game vibes, like Madden or something, where like
they're all just copied.
Or like wrestling games where there's like 3 animations and it's just that those 3 things like copy pasted randomly throughout. Like
they're so obviously like 2-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah, during like and even then, it's such a good example of like the first movie when Neo and Smith fight versus like this fight. And it's like the first movie was like very like tight corners, like good kung fu choreography, and then this fight, I'm just like, oh, so this is basically Dragon Ball Z, like that they're
Yeah.
floating
I was
around
thinking
and
like
like
Man of Steel.
they're just
Yeah.
kicking each other around, and it's just like there's like there's like I think what reminded me the most of DBZ was like when it pans out to the city and you see like there's like a giant orb
The
shatter.
bubble of water, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just get up without a scratch on each other and like, oh, that was pretty good. Oh, well, you're pretty. Oh, you and it's like.
Everything
Okay.
around the flying around is like, the normal stuff was okay. I mean, it's a lot better than the park fight, I'll say. I'll just
Yeah.
give it that. And maybe it's because it's the last fight, so there's a little bit of like emotional resonance to it too. So even if like the combat isn't great, it's still like a better fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly The best part is when they're in that like the crater at the end, and
Yeah.
it's like it's more just
Yeah.
like just basic, just like punches to the face, and they're
Yeah,
both
and
like,
he's like,
exhausted.
why?
Yeah, why that like him? Yeah,
Because I
Hugo
choose
Weaving-
to. Like
that
that's
is
a
great.
pretty good. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's good stuff.
There's a really
But
good
yeah,
slow-mo shot of Hugo Weaving going like.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was like the one part
You-
from that fight I remember.
By the way, when you said DBZ, this is completely like random, but you said DBZ, and it just made me think DPZ.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why. That's why I was laughing though.
I was also not a huge fan of the Andross from Star Fox, like the
Yeah, that's
machines
a good way to put
forming
it, yeah.
into a face.
A baby face.
Yeah, it's like, you look a baby face.
Yeah.
I love that. That's like the first time that's ever happened. That for context for the podcast listeners, well, I guess and the video listeners,
You look
watchers. TJ just asked how much time was left. Like that's never happened before.
Oh well, I have to go. That's why I went like
okay.
I'm like I wanted to be done like an hour ago. 'Cause
Okay,
I gotta
let's
get to share it. Yeah.
let's go then.
I think I'm mostly.
I'll go first. I'll go first then.
What? Wait, didn't it sound? Were you trying to like say something else before we?
I
get
think I was
to-
just trying to get to basically the ending where like he defeats Agent Smith.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then like the machines kind of drag his there's a scene where he literally like
Yeah.
puts his arms out like that and
And there's a
becomes
cross.
light. And I'm like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah.
So
You got it in the first one.
and then at the end it's like the Oracle sitting on a bench and like the Matrix has been reloaded.
Yeah.
then-
Reloaded.
And then Seraph and like the little girl from the beginning and the architects show up, and then they're like, I think we'll see Neo again. And then it just kind of ends there. And you don't really know the fate of Neo. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's implied that Trinity dies, but apparently not. So I was like, this is how they ended it. I knew it ended on a park bench, but I thought it was Neo sitting on the park bench. I don't know why I thought that.
I put
False memory.
overall a decent. I might have thought that too, that Neo
Yeah.
was there too, even though I knew that like it was like ambiguous what happened to him. But for some reason, I maybe thought that too.
No,
Yeah,
I always thought he died.
The way that I put it was that like it's like a decent. Again, I think it'd be better if it was just the one movie. I think that's a better resolution than this. But for them being, okay, we're gonna do a trilogy. We're gonna like end the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, I think that it's a decent enough ending as a whole for like the whole thing, but really weak endings for the characters, like in general.
Absolutely.
Even though like Trinity maybe she gets the most like ceremonious send off because they definitely take their time with that, and like the scene before that was great. Neo's very abrupt. He gets assimilated by Smith. There's nothing like
a Smith-elated.
he doesn't. Yeah, I think his last line is "I choose" or "because I choose" or whatever, which is a good final line, I guess, for Neo when you think about it. But yeah, then he's dragged away, and they're like, "Oh, maybe he's there." Morpheus, just like, when is the last scene of him? Is it like?
I think it's when the machines stop.
and he
Yeah,
says
when
that he
there's
okay,
peace.
but
Peace
still,
or
there's
something like that.
nothing. You don't get to see him like
Yeah.
making out with Niobe at the end or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
I think the
celebrating.
Another
scene
orgy. Let's go.
Yeah. With this one's for real though.
This one.
Now
Yeah.
we're really gonna do DPZ.
Okay. The Z is for
I-
Zion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that like Trinity's goodbye is also like Neo's goodbye. Like that's why
Yeah.
it's so long. It's both of their
Yeah.
Yeah.
the-
Okay.
This is
I could
this
see
is
that.
kind of what worries me because there has been a very slight plot synopsis that's been released for Resurrections, and it's
I don't
like
want to know much.
it's like 2
Yeah.
sentences,
Okay. All right.
but it's like 20 years later, and Neo is Thomas Anderson, and he's seeing a therapist who's feeding him blue pills. So it almost sounds like they're going to retread the first movie because I think Morpheus is going to show up and bring him back.
Well,
into-
yeah. I've seen in a trailer. It's like them fighting in a dojo that's like exactly like the one that they fight in
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
one.
And then I think
it's
it also said
probably
that
gonna
like,
be Force Awakens.
and then they said it also said like Trinity and Neo like don't recognize each other. So
Right.
that
To-
like that's it. But it's
Yeah.
like it kind of sounds like they're just gonna retread the first movie, which I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. To me, especially since you see them like dragging him away at the end there. To me, my theory or whatever, like very basic theory, is that I think he survived that. They plugged him back in as a way to suppress him because they're like the machines. I think are scared of him. They're like, oh fuck, he killed.
He did us a
Smith, which-
favor, but also
Yeah.
he could do the
Also,
same to us.
Exactly.
maybe-
So they're blue pilling him. They're suppressing him so he can't.
Maybe as
You
a
know,
backup
potentially.
plan too, just in case another agent goes rogue or something, they can be like
Yeah.
wake him up from his
Yeah.
coma.
True.
and-
Like he's kind of like a sleeper agent. Yeah.
yeah.
But also that doesn't explain why Morpheus is different and why Trinity is alive.
Yeah.
Unless they're just programs. Unless they're
it
like
could
I don't
be
know.
it could be like 50 years
Maybe
later.
it's not
and
really them.
They're
Yeah.
dead or something, or I don't know.
Eh.
Anyways, let's go to the rankings. 'Cause
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna. We'll just keep going the rotation. We'll go me, you, Nick.
Okay.
Cool. 3. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a 3.
wow. Okay. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of whack shit about this. I think it's a pretty lackluster ending. I think the Zion battle is really fucking boring. Ultimately though,
Terrible.
to me, the good outweighs the bad. Mainly again for just the over the top characters that I really like. I love Bane. I love what you get of Smith because he's always great. The Neo and Trinity arc for the most part I'm pretty fine with. Oh, again, I wanted to, this is a little off of my wrap up thing, but I wanted to go back to the Cypher thing. Why I think that Smith was going to hold his deal with him. It's because the machines hold their deal with Neo at the end here. That's what I mean. The machines keep their promises for as a
They have their own like internal logic or rules.
Yeah.
Or,
So I think maybe that's kind of the point. Like, goes back to the whole thing about humans needing misery and needing all this suffering. The machines are more logical and moral than humanity is. So, so yeah, that's what I was getting with the whole my logic with Cypher. But yeah, back to this. I should have said that earlier because that kind of fucked up my flow. But I'm gonna go with the 6.
You're a fucking idiot.
I think I think the good outweighs the bad, and I think therefore I think it's close to a 5 because I'm like, yeah, like that's average or whatever. But I'm like, nah, I think that fun stuff outweighs it. Just that the Zion stuff just
yeah.
really tanks it. If it wasn't for that, it'd maybe be a point more.
I wish Bane would have been like, "Oh, Mr. I can't do that. I'm really bad at impersonations." but-
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Mr. Anderson,
I was born in
Matrix
the,
is
I was
your
born in the
ally."
Matrix. I was molded by it.
Yeah. Shit, I didn't think about that.
I think I'm sitting at a 4.
Okay.
I'm sitting at a 4. Yeah. The Zion sequence, blue. I think like there were some interesting characters introduced, like the train man and like the French guy is always fun, but like the forced like the forced moments really that of like the kid who's gonna save the day in the end even though he's too young. It's like they tried to throw too much shit at the wall near the end there. They tried to like have too many thematic elements that just didn't really work. There wasn't enough, not enough Morpheus, not enough of what made the first two movies, but mostly the first movie so interesting was like Neo, Morpheus, Trinity, like those characters. I feel like they got like railroaded, side carded for like all this other like world building lore shit that doesn't matter. But I guess I'll bump it up a point for the one scene where they go above the clouds and see like the sky.
Legitimately, like I think that's so because that scene is so good.
Yeah,
I was
very
wait,
curious about what they're
bumping
gonna
it
do
up
with the
a
fourth movie. Like
You're bumping
very
it up
curious.
a point to a 4.
Yeah, I think I was probably sitting around a 3-ish, but I'll say 4. Like there needs to be like a phantom edit of like maybe 2 and 3. Just do a phantom edit and like make it,
maybe
one movie.
I guess.
Another gripe I wanted to touch on this. Sorry, is that they make a whole thing in Reloaded. Like Neo's whole thing in the second one is, I have to save Trinity from dying, and then he saves her, and then this one she dies like the next day. Like think about it.
That is true. Because like the second of you'd think that it's like a long time, but these movies are right back to back.
Well, like
Aren't
they in like the coma for a little bit though?
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe a little.
That's
like
so
a week later.
funny.
A week. Say a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that to bring a metaphor back that I used earlier. The Zion fight is it's kind of like if Back to the Future it followed Biff, and it's like it shows Biff, and then there's this big chunk in the middle of the movie where he's just covered in shit and he's trying to dig out of it for like 30 minutes. that's what this would be like following. It totally kills it, and you're like, I don't know any of these characters. I don't give a shit about any of them.
Yeah, that was literally one of my notes. I don't care about what's going on, and I don't care about these characters.
Yeah.
I all that stuff I agree with. I just I don't know. It didn't take away from the stuff that I liked as much, I guess. It was almost like two movies. It's like why I gave like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like kind of similar, where like I don't give a shit at all about Leonardo DiCaprio's storyline, but I love Brad Pitt's.
And then you like Leo at the end, like shit at the end.
Well, I mean that's the other thing is like I like Leonardo DiCaprio a lot,
right?
But like all his stuff in that movie, I don't give a fuck about.
Also in the running to play Neo, but after doing Titanic, he didn't want to do another movie that was just like super duper like CG, like blue screen type shit. So he also turned down Neo.
Interesting. Huh.
He would have been terrible. Sorry.
Yeah, I still really think that Keanu Reeves is like
the only character, the only person.
He's great. Like I like. Again, I think he plays to his skill set really well. So yeah, I think he was.
How far in the weeds do you think we would have gotten if Dagan was on and defending Will Smith being?
Carve out 20 minutes of conversation for that.
I mean, we're talking about like this is a series very steeped in like different philosophies. If Moose was on, he'd still be on the first movie.
Yeah. It's good that we're the perfect hosts and we don't
need anyone else.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to get at.
It's good thing he doesn't listen to any of this or watch it.
It's true. Hey Moose, if you're listening to this, fuck you and let me know, you piece of shit.
Nice page boy haircut.
Yeah, so this is our first
oh man, it's been a long
while because we did the October like picks, and then we had Kelly do Catwoman before that.
Was
so.
Eraserhead the last one pulled?
Eraserhead was the last one pulled. Yeah.
Shit.
Damn, that was a while ago. It was like 6 episodes now.
We almost should for for like to keep Moose involved. We should do something Renaissance involved since that's where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if there are any, but we'll see. I also I think I was thinking maybe for not for the whole month, but maybe for like Christmas week we could do a Christmas movie. So again, like kind of step away from this, but I think mostly we'll stick with this.
Yeah.
Santa Claus or Jingle All the Way. That's my vote for that.
Yeah, I figured I could do like a little Christmas cup. Or we could just
and just pull one of them out.
Yeah.
Maybe throw Muppet Christmas Carol in there. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
That's the one I'm gonna vouch for.
They're showing it at the Wealthy Theater in December, so we're gonna go see Muppet Christmas Carol.
So
we could do that.
Depending on what that would actually
It'll be a Tuesday night.
I mean, well, that's just
Like
to watch
7.
it, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And then we
just
could
to watch it.
then we could record it that weekend or whatever.
Sure.
That following.
Right.
I kind of like that idea. Okay. So our movie for next week is Princess Mononoke, directed by Hayao Miyazaki from 1997. Shut up, Travis. he's a Ghibli hater now.
I'm not a Ghibli hater. I guess we'll save it. I've seen it before, and
I know.
I will say right now I'm not looking forward to watching it again.
I know.
I'm just like
he's
I'm like a hipster Ghibli hater because I like the ones that I like. It seems like people don't really like when Wind Rises, and I actually really, really, really like Wind Rises.
I don't think I dislike any Miyazaki, but Wind Rises is like all right to me.
Yeah, people don't like. I like. That was
I only have a couple of them in here in the cup. But yeah, Princess Mononoke, cool. That'll be neat. Is that our first animated movie?
I believe so. Yeah.
Show? Cool.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled for Princess Mononoke from 1997, watch it before next week. We are now we're a bit more organized with the show now, so we are pre-recording. I guess I meant to say this at the top for people watching the streams or the videos live. We are pre-recording these now, just because we think it's a better choice. But one of us, at least me, who's going to be running the streams now, I'll be monitoring. So if you're in the comments, I'll still respond, participate in that way. It just won't be our voices.
If you've been chatting for like 2.5 hours up until now and we haven't been responding to you, this is why.
That's what I'm saying. I will respond in the comments. So I guess I'll say that ahead of time or something like that. Yeah, so our everything is going to be released simultaneously on I settled on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should decide now. Do we just want to stick with 7, or because I mean it's just me who has to like worry about the timing of it, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But like, do you guys think 7 is a good time, or should we do like a little earlier? Or I guess I'm just asking your guys' opinions.
I think 7's a pretty good time.
All right, let's stick with 7. I'm okay with that. Okay, so Wednesdays at 7 every week is when we'll be releasing on at least Twitch and YouTube. I'm gonna see if Facebook is a possibility too. And then also in podcast form, we're gonna they'll all be out there. So give us a follow on all of those.
VODs will always end up on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Is like as I stream on Twitch, I'm just gonna post the VODs on YouTube like at the same time.
Oh, gotcha.
So it'll just be a video. So I guess if somebody wanted, they could. Oh no, you can do the live. So you can do live premieres. So like. Yeah, it has to. Yeah, so it works in the same sense. And there's Daisy. But yeah, so give us a follow and likes on all those fronts to stay updated and to have all those options to listen. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, good to be back. Princess Mononoke next week. We all good for our sign offs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Then I am your Captain Morpheus, Orpheus, Dorpheus, drinking a 40 in a death basket. TJ, aka J Spot Jack Cheese. And with me as always.
As always, I am your inevitable co-host, the inevitable one who will always dress up for these and be the only one who does it. Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch.
I am the stink that you can taste. Beagle named Daisy Lovin' John Wick.
All right. See you next time, people.